The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Wednesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. Sterling Holmes hanging out with us the first couple of hours as we will talk some NFL football today. We'll talk some college basketball. We'll talk some Major League Baseball tomorrow, opening day for Major League Baseball, except for the Padres and Dodgers that had their 2 games they have already played. But opening day officially tomorrow in Major League Baseball. We will talk a little bit about that. We've got our Royals ZOUs we will break out today with Mick Schaefer coming up later on in the show. We'll talk with Myron Metcalf coming up at noon from ESPN College Basketball Insider, presented by Jackson County CASA. So we will talk about the NCAA tournament, the Sweet 16, Elite 8 this weekend, who's going to be in the Final Four the next time Myron and I talk next Tuesday, as I'll be getting ready to head to Phoenix for the Final Four to see who will be crowned a national champion a week from Monday. But we'll be heading there on Thursday next week. So we'll talk with Myron Metcalf coming up at noon, and we'll get into a number of other things today. Or the three of us can just simply keep talking about youth baseball bats and which are the hot bats to go and get and buy. And can you find the glow stick back in the day, or what'd you have?
It was the Exo bat.
The Exo bat?
It was like black and gold.
Yeah, the black and gold Exo bat that's probably illegal now.
First thing I type in with Exo says Exo bat illegal.
Illegal now, yeah. But I mean, here's my thing, and we've never done this, and I'm obviously just joking, but, use the illegal bat. Because, if they find out you're using an illegal bat, then it's like, hey, it's a warning. You can't use that bat anymore. Oh, okay. But in the meantime, we just put an 8 spot on the board. We put a snowman there in the first on you.
Forgiveness, not permission.
That's right.
Well, how'd it work for Sammy Sosa? Allegedly.
It's Major League Baseball.
Allegedly.
I'm talking about like youth league. Again, we don't do that, and we've played teams that have in 9U baseball, and we're 8-year-olds playing 9U, but we're playing up to play kid pitch for the first time in our lives, which is it's been a blast. It's been fun. It's a lot more fun than I thought it would be because people are like, it's the worst year of baseball. It's awful.
Timmy Smokes is going to go back through Everett's games now and try and find the
Timmy Smokes, man. You stay away from youth baseball.
5 for 5 days that he had.
You stay away from 3 and 2. You stay away from the Blue Valley Gold Glove League. Damn it, Timmy Smokes. You do not get near that. You focus on Shohei and those bets and whatever games he may have allegedly been throwing on behalf of his interpreter. It's up to interpretation as to whether or not you think he was throwing games or not. But we've played teams that had like a team bat. Like everybody gets up there with the same bat because that thing is freaking hot. That thing has been broken in and it is a trampoline. Even though it's legal, like that thing has been used so many times that the spring is fully there. The core there is broken in for if it's composite or not or whatever it might be. It's like, oh, they're using a team bat. All right, we might need to back our outfield up a little bit.
When someone uses a team bat, you're more scared. When a team comes with one bat, you should be terrified.
Like,
when
let's
the guys
check that bat.
When the guys come in with those big old suitcases with 6 bats, and I go, no, come on, those are not broken in.
No,
we're fine. He wants to look good. That's Nomar Garciaparra, okay? He wants to look good.
Stay in the batter's box, son, okay? Your batting gloves will not matter whether or not your back foot is immediately moving while he is in the stretch. Your batting gloves are not going to matter whether or not you make contact with this ball. Right?
Step in the bucket. Step in the bucket.
Come on, man. Stop moving the damn back foot. Let's go. They're 8-year-olds playing kid pitch for the first time. If you can find a kid that the first couple of games does not move that back foot when the pitch is coming in, you have found a brave mother bleeper. Right? You have found a kid that will be jumping off and cliff jumping with your friends at the lake. That's the kid that you're going to have to watch out for with your son hanging out with, because that's the kid going to go, don't be a scaredy cat. Come on, jump, man. It's not that big of a deal. I'll do it. And they jump, and then your kid does it, and he's scared. That's the one you got to worry about. All right, that's the one. Is the one that's in there like, come on, throw the pitch. I dare you to bring it here. That kid's going to be riding a motorcycle at 10 years old doing wheelies.
So you've not started throwing balls at your son to make sure he understands it does not hurt.
Oh, he's been hit a few times.
Yeah, see, he's fine. Keep that back foot in there,
Yeah.
son. You're
we,
okay.
We had a kid the other day wear it, and it was awesome. The ball came in, and he just turned his back, hit the back of his leg, and just jogged to first. And I was like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen you do. and you just went out there and threw 3 innings of shutout baseball, man, as an 8-year-old. And the coolest thing I saw you did was just turn into the pitch, take it off the back of your leg, and then run to first.
Have
well
we
done,
ever
son.
thought about calling?
Not my son.
Have we ever thought about calling this 8-year-old baseball group? Because I think this would be a very fun game to call. You and I just sitting there, just
play-by-play
a
of it.
lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks.
Pass ball. Oh, there's a pass. Got by the catcher again. Nope. Here he comes from third, and he's going to steal second. Oh, there he is. He's heading to third. An overthrow of the pitcher. He's going to score.
33-32, no earned runs, all were errors.
Oh, we got smoked over the weekend, 30-0.
Wow.
In one of the games that we played, but we went 2-2, so we were very happy with the weekend that we had. So just look at. But yes, the conversation we had before we even came on the air, we were talking about hot bats. Like, how do I get an illegal bat so my son gets it to the grass? Let's go. All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810. Text line to join us to weigh in on the different topics we will be having today. I do want to send a shout out to the listeners, and whether it's on the text message or on the Twitter, or maybe just simply to Les, the outpouring of support and what we got and people showing love to Les Norman was just it was really cool. It was really awesome, and I got a couple of messages last night from Les that he has had people reach out and say that they have already scheduled their doctor's appointment to go and check their PSA with the message yesterday. So those are the kind of things that just makes your day, and I know that it made Les's day in hearing that from some people reaching out to him and saying, just scheduled my appointment, getting my PSA checked now because of the message you sent. So that is awesome. So cool stuff from Les Norman, taking something that is incredibly scary and turning it into something that can be a positive and for change and help other men moving forward. So I do appreciate all the outpouring of support there for Les, and I know he appreciates it as well. I do want to start off with happy birthday to Dylan. Dylan's birthday today. You say it's your birthday. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. So, happy birthday, Mr. Dylan. Happy birthday.
The faster this day can end, the better for me as someone that really enjoys being the center of attention. As
You do
know.
love
I
being
it.
showered with attention.
Oh, yeah.
You love it. Dylan loves it. He's always just in the spotlight like, hey, look at me. I'm a party boy. Always. He shows up to work just skipping, hopping, and whistling his way right to that
Skipping
board.
for sure. Skipping. But,
When he
yeah.
first started, I thought he was a party boy. With the hair, he looked like a hockey player. I'm like, wow,
Then he
this
had
guy
the-
is a badass.
Then he had the man bun.
Yep.
And now he's gone with just shaving. Like, he's bald by choice.
Yes.
You
Now,
know,
once you went
he's
bald,
like AC Green. It's like some people are like, well, I don't think you're good. No, it's a choice. All right. Well, I actually believe you. You're an NBA player.
when he went bald, that's when he decided I am no longer a party boy. That's when the
He's an adult,
attention
yeah.
it waned. I will say it says 29 on this on the cookie box.
Yeah, that's right. Happy birthday, Dylan. Number 29. That's from Mr. Michaels. Dropped off some crumble cookies for Dylan and his birthday.
Do you think he's actually 29, or is this his third year turning 29?
I think he's really 29.
39, wow,
Sorry.
bold.
No, he's not. I think he's really 29. I don't see Dylan as a guy that will care about turning 30 or 31 or 32 and just be like, cool, I'm now 30. I'm
It's actually
29.
a birthday
I'm
that kind of matters,
Yeah.
Like these ones are just days, really. Reminders that you're getting older.
My mom, a while ago, I think maybe it was her 60th birthday. I'm not sure. She's only 55. I'm joking. It wasn't her 60th birthday. She's only 55. But it was like her 60th birthday or something, and it was like, people were going, oh, you're old. She was like, you know what? I'm just happy I got to 60. It's like people are talking about the age. Like, I got to 60, and I don't even care about the age. I get to 61. I get to 62. I get to 70. I get to 73, 74. Yeah, it's another year, but it's the same day as it was yesterday. It's just, hey, now I see another year. Sort of changed the perspective of, oh my God, I'm 30. Yeah, but you were 29 yesterday. You're 30 today. Oh, I'm 40. As it gets up there, yeah, it sort of makes a difference because it's like, man, I'm older than what I used to think old was. Because when I was like a teenager, I'm like, in college, you're like the 26-year-old was old. Like, okay, weirdo. Go ahead and head home, alumni. The hell out of the fraternity house, weirdo. You're 26, okay? Please leave.
In fairness, you shouldn't be 26 at the fraternity house, Jason.
Well, alumni weekend. Homecoming, coming back,
fair.
hanging out.
I thought you were just there on a random
I'm not
Tuesday.
talking about wearing your high school Letterman's jacket to a high school party as a 26-year-old. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about that dude that clearly plateaued and peaked in high school and is still going back and remembering the glory days of high school. I'm not talking about that.
What's sad is I was playing basketball, and there were some college kids, as you're mentioning. I was playing pretty well, and the kids came up to me and said, "How old are you?" And I said, 29. And they said, "Wow, I hope I'm playing basketball when I'm 29." What a gut punch that was. I hope I'm playing basketball when I'm your age.
Right.
Great. How old? I'm not that far off. If I said 49, sure. 29?
Yeah. I used to think all the time when I was like, 13 or 14 and we'd be playing like 17 or 18-year-olds at pickup games, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but I can't wait till I'm your age to see how good I am. And then you realize that as you get older, you actually play less.
Yeah.
And you've got other interests in life than girls come into the picture, and there's other things you're doing and hanging out, as opposed to just like, I'm 12, 13. You know what I'm doing? I'm going to the basketball court. We're playing basketball all day, every day. Well, when I'm 18, it's how good I'm going to be. Probably, maybe not as good as you are right now.
Yeah, worse.
You might actually be the best you are. You might have peaked at 14 years old. But Dylan has not peaked at 29,
Yeah, I peaked way earlier. Way earlier.
You're on the other side?
Yeah, 25 usually, the quarter century.
Yes. Well, thank you to Mr. Michaels that dropped off some crumble cookies for Dylan, who then immediately brought him in here and said, here, you guys can have them. Because he doesn't want to be the attention at all. The center of attention, doesn't want any attention whatsoever. We're going to shower him with attention. We're going to make Myron, when Myron comes on at noon, we're all going to sing happy birthday to Dylan. And then Mick, we're going to sing happy birthday to Dylan again. And before Sterling gets out of here, we're going to sing happy birthday to Dylan. We're going to do it over and over again. And then this afternoon at 2 o'clock when John Sherman has his press conference, we're going to have him sing happy birthday to Dylan. Cole Reagan's press conference after John Sherman. You know what he's going to do? Sing happy birthday to Dylan. Matt Quattrero, sing happy birthday. And then when the Royals release the lease today, release the lease with some dignitaries of the Royals and Chiefs organization, they're also going to sing happy birthday to Dylan.
Can Shohei Ohtani read a statement of happy birthday to me as well? Or?
Only as the interpreter is talking at the exact same time that he is releasing the statement, so it is incredibly confusing, and we're trying to figure out what's being said, who's talking, like he can't release a statement, and then the interpreter can't get up there and just read the same statement that Shohei Ohtani is saying after he says it. You got to say it at the exact same time.
What are the odds that Ohtani, can I go to a betting book and place some money on that he will sing happy birthday to Dylan, or?
He'd have a pretty decent control over whether or not you win that bet.
Yeah.
See if anybody near him, close to him, makes that bet.
I might be going down to the Royals to see Cole Reagan's and then see everything happen.
Just to watch him?
Just to watch him, just
to be
stand
around
and
him?
look. But I'm going to ask some questions. The first one I'll ask is, what do you have to say about Dylan Michaels' 29th birthday? I think that'd be a really good jumping off point.
Here's the tie-in.
Yeah,
and
next question.
This is a total leap as a tie-in, but here's the tie-in. Hey, Cole, you're the 9th betting favorite for the American League Cy Young. What do you think about Dylan's 29th birthday? It's a terrible tie-in, but it's close. It's the only thing you can get.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I can think of that.
You're
that
on
you
your
can get
second
to.
team.
And?
Well, 2-9. I'm getting the numbers there. Jason.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Right. Cole, you're 26. How do you think you'd feel when you're like 29 years old, like 3 years from now? What do you think you'd be? Because, Dylan Michaels at Sports Radio 810, he turned 29 today. How do you think you would feel, as a 29-year-old? And then he would say, can't wait to see how awesome of a pitcher I'll be when I'm 29. I'm 26 right now. Imagine how great I'll be when I'm 29,
I'm just waiting until I'm 60. I'm going to be such a good ball player.
God, my J when I'm 60 is going to be fire, dude. It is going to be wet, as the kids say. All right. Imagine Mahomes as a 60-year-old quarterback. He will be throwing dots.
Okay,
all
actually,
over the place.
I could see that. That's the one where I'm like, okay, yeah, probably.
He actually still will be probably throwing dots. Yeah. By the way, I didn't cut the sound as a total aside because that's what this first opening segment is apparently. But they had Good Morning Football played some clips of Patrick Mahomes when he was on Good Morning Football before the draft in 2017. And he was talking about being compared to Aaron Rodgers, and he goes, you got 13 seconds left, and you go down and you kick a field goal, and he said 13 seconds left, and you go down and you kick a field goal with Aaron Rodgers, and just all these different things that you can do as, trying to, like, what are the odds of, like, Patrick Mahomes in 2017 mentions 13 seconds left and going down and getting a field goal.
And Peter Schrager nails it at the end when he says, you kind of sense a little when they made the question about the air raid offense, and he kind of had a little bit of a
bleep you to him,
a little bit,
edge to him, like defensive, maybe not defensiveness, but bowing your back of ready to take on the issues and the questions and the skepticism about running the air raid offense. And as he said there, he's like, yeah, but I was calling the plays at the line of scrimmage. I was the one calling the plays. Like, that's what Cliff Kingsbury put that, trust in me, that I was the one running the offense. It might have been an air raid, but it wasn't just, hey, here's play number 1, go do that. He's like, I was calling all the signals at the line of scrimmage and calling the plays.
When he brought up 13 seconds, do you think Bills fans just immediately yelled scripted? How many Bills fans yelled, oh my gosh,
Great
look,
point.
Scripted?
It's a great point. Yeah, it would be scripted. I do wonder what the difference in the Chiefs in that game with the new kickoff rule would be if it was implemented that year as opposed to the idiocy of, or idiocracy, whatever. Is it idiocy? Idiotic nature of just kicking it through the end zone instead of actually kicking it down to the 5 or 10 yard line. The amount of time it would take the Chiefs to get from where they catch the ball inside the 10 yard line to up to the 25 would have essentially ended the game. It would have made it to where there was 8 seconds left. You couldn't fair catch then, so you can't get the ball at the 25 yard line. Maybe you could get out of the way and hope it bounces into the end zone, but if it's kicked high enough in the air, now if you pick it up, now you got the coverage team that's going to be even closer. Maybe that's what was scripted, is for the Bills to do the worst possible thing you can do in that situation, which was just kick it through the end zone. It's not smart. Whatever. We'll see if the new kickoff rule. Before we go to break, the NAIA National Championship last night was, if people didn't see it or hear about it, the ending was spectacular. It was amazing. It was awesome drama for Freed Hardman and a local kid from Blue Springs South playing on Freed Hardman and helping that team win a national championship. And they get the win. Freed Hardman does over Langston, and Devin Tomlinson starts and is out there as a Kansas City kid and celebrating winning a national championship. But it wasn't just the fact that Freed Hardman won their first ever national championship. It was the fact that they trailed by as many as 13 in the second half. And they were down 6 with 54 seconds to go. 54 seconds to go, they were down 6. They were leading with 35 seconds to go. They were down
the Reggie Miller?
They were down 6 with 54 seconds to go. With 35 seconds left, they were up 1. So they come down with 54 seconds left, down 6. They get fouled. They hit both free throws, so now they're down 4. They get a steal in the backcourt. Go to lay it up, make it, get fouled. Hit the free throw. Now they're down 1 with 40 seconds left. Another turnover in the backcourt. Steal. Go to the layup, get fouled. They don't make the layup. They hit both free throws. From 54 seconds to 35 seconds, they went on a 7-0 run, and they led 68-67 at that point.
So it was Reggie Miller-esque.
It was a little
and two, the crazy thing, no threes.
No threes.
Like if you would have said,
you got an and one, but no actual. You got the old school 3-point play, but not the new school.
My thought was, okay, so they hit a 3, and then maybe they steal an inbound, and they get fouled and hit a 4-point play.
You hit a 3, then you foul them immediately. They miss free throws. Then you come down and hit another shot, and then they miss free throws.
Or
and you're like, wow, 19 seconds left.
Make one, and then you miss the second one, and it gets knocked out, and you hit it that's insane.
And so they're up 1 with 68-67 with 35 seconds to go. Langston comes down, runs their offensive possession. They go up for a layup. Weak side help, block shot, fast break, layup. They're up 70-67 with 10 seconds left now. And then Langston misses the 3. They get fouled. They were down 6 with 54 seconds to play. They won by 4. They went on a 10-0 run in 50 seconds last night to win the national championship. That's one, if you're Freed Hardman, you'll remember forever. If you were there at the game, just experiencing and enjoying it, you'll remember that crazy last minute of the game. And if you're Langston, you'll go to your grave thinking about the fact that you had a 6-point lead with 54 seconds to go to win a national championship. Those are the ones that it's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, and grasping victory from the jaws of defeat and grasping defeat from the jaws of victory. Those two sides. But cool story with Devin Tomlinson, Blue Springs South kid, going and returning here to Kansas City and helping his team win a national championship. But crazy drama last night in the NAIA championship, national championship last night, and you heard it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB as well. We will have Myron Metcalf coming up at noon. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer. We'll release, we'll eliminate some teams in the bracket of sound. We will do our Royals ZOUs today. And then coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, there are a lot of press conference that'll be taking place. So at 2 o'clock, we'll hear from John Sherman. And you'll hear that live right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Cole Reagans will talk as he's getting ready for opening day, as you typically do the day before. You've got your starter, you've got your manager. Cole Reagans will talk today. Matt Quattrero will talk today. And then at 3 o'clock, the Chiefs and Royals at Arrowhead will unveil the lease. 6 days before we're voting on it, we finally have an actual lease that will be for 40 years of Royals baseball in Kansas City and 25 years for the Chiefs. We finally have a lease to kind of figure out how the tax will be paid out. Because it's not the it's not the equal payments of every cent goes to, a cent for cent, dollar for dollar. The rule that was put in there in the lease back in 2006, and I can't remember the exact term of it, Sacred Nation Clause that they put in there, that no matter what the Chiefs got, the Royals got. No matter what the Royals got, the Chiefs got. But you can't do that when there's two separate leases, by the way. It's not going to be the same lease. There's two separate leases. There's a lease for the Royals and a lease for the Chiefs. They're releasing it today. And we'll get a chance to look at the lease, and it will have zero impact on the vote. We'll have zero impact on the vote. We'll see the lease, and people will like it, not like it, and nobody's mind will be changed based on the lease. And I don't know if that is strategy. I don't know if that is part of the overall. We release, we make public the lease less than a week before voting. And people have kind of already made up their minds. And if you're talking about, well, okay, this is bad for the city, how do we get the word out? Well, no, this is good for us. How do we get the word out? It's probably the people that have $3 to $5 million in their kitty to go and pay for advertising, as opposed to the groundswell, grassroots campaign in the no. The yeses. You've got the billionaires that are funneling money into the yes and the advertising and TV and radio as well that's going on. Again, it won't change anybody's mind. Will it spark more people to show up? I don't think so. We'll have a town hall tonight. I'm looking forward to that because the lease will know what's in it. Todd Lebo will be hosting the town hall tonight at 6 o'clock, a 2-hour show. So it'll be all about the voting coming up on Tuesday, the yes side, the no side. He will talk to both sides. He will have the equal time and give them their platform to explain what's going on. Todd will, be moderating the interviews, be leading the interviews for those 2 hours just to get as much information as possible out there. But that's how the afternoon is going to look, starting at 2 o'clock with John Sherman, Cole Reagans, Matt Quattrero, and then Mark Donovan and Brooks Sherman and Chiefs and Royals combined, talking about the actual lease. Chiefs 25 years, Royals 40 years, and we'll get an idea of where the actual money is going to go, how they are going to disperse the taxes, the insurance part of it that the Royals and Chiefs have agreed to give back to the county. That would have to be there in writing because right now it's just, well, yeah, it's they're saying that, but is it in writing? Now you would think it's going to be in writing, the park levies, all of that, the different parts that have been discussed and the negotiations back and forth. Now, with an actual lease, we'll be able to see those in writing. And we'll find out what it means. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. I want to talk about the NFL kickoff rule. Dean Blandino on ESPN last night talking about what the kickoff rule means. And, of course, the hip drop tackle and the attempt to officiate the hip drop tackle and where Dean Blandino, an official, thinks we might be heading on the defensive side of football in the future if this trend continues. We'll do that coming up on the other side of the break. More Zone next. All right, hanging out here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes hanging out with us until noon. We'll talk with Myron Metcalf coming up at noon from ESPN College Basketball Insider. Dylan Michaels, the birthday boy, heading up until 2 o'clock, hanging out with us. Mick Schaefer will be here coming up at about 12:30 or so. We will eliminate some teams in the Bracket of Sound region and, of course, the Royals 2024 ZOUs. We'll get some ZOUs with the Royals. And
Aaron Crow.
It's almost. That was close. The zone over unders for the Royals this year. Totally. I'm in a glass case of emotion with what these ZOUs are going to be, because I was 7 for 7 with Royals and Chiefs. So we've now done 9. I was 7 for 7 and not losing, right? I mean, you don't have to be the fastest swimmer. You just can't be the slowest swimmer from the Shark, okay? I was 7 for 7 and not finishing last. And then now, as people know, the Royals and Chiefs back-to-back finish last, owing, multiple lunches. So now it's like I've got these thoughts about the Royals ZOUs, but then I immediately start questioning myself. Well, no, I'm going to do well, I don't know, but if I do this, then it's going to be the other thing, and now I'm screwed. I'm in that rut of like gambling, when you play, you're like,
you go with your
just
gut.
not feeling it right now,
You go with your gut.
I went with my gut the last 2 times and I lost, but I went with my gut the previous 7, and I didn't lose. Not necessarily winning. Just didn't finish last, which is all that matters. So that comes up in the.
If there's lunch involved, I want to somehow get involved in this, because whenever there's food,
we'll have you submit yours.
Whenever food's involved, I become intrigued.
Well, you got crumble cookies right in front of you for Dylan's birthday. So
there's a lemon one. It looks like that lemon one looks.
Is a lemon one calling your name?
It looks electric. Right
got
there.
that powdered sugar right there on the little sprinkle of powdered sugar on the top of that lemon. Not too bad. Got a chocolate on chocolate on chocolate. So there you go. It's Dylan's birthday, so he's very excited about it. He's running around the office telling everybody about it. Hey, everybody, I don't know did you know what today is? It's my birthday.
He literally has
you know
a hat.
what today is? It's my birthday.
It's a birthday hat.
Yeah, he's wearing his birthday suit.
Gotta let it breathe.
Not touching that one.
Neither are we. There's no hugs or high fives for you today. I'm going to need you to lock that door in there so nobody walks in. Also, don't put the camera on you. Birthday suit.
Well, that's why it's
late.
chest and
Too
above.
late.
It's
Yes.
chest and above.
He said, "What are you Porky Pig it over there?"
Winnie the Pooh. It's Winnie the Pooh.
It's Winnie the Pooh. That's what it is. Winnie the Pooh.
It's an old
Donald
man.
Duck.
It's an old man in a gym locker room. Why do that? What does that happen, by the way?
It's a great question. It's one of the world's. You know why? Because their view at that age is like, yeah, like I give a bleep, like I care.
It's
what
wild.
You think, punk?
They hit 70, and all of a sudden I'm putting my T-shirt on.
Yeah.
I'll have my Argyle socks on, no pants.
Don't need them. Don't need them. What do you need them for? So now that you guys have that visual, we'll move on to the visual of the NFL kickoff going on, of what the new rule is going to be. And we've talked a lot about the new rule in the NFL kickoff of lining up at the 35/40-yard line on the other side of the field, the kickoff still being from your own 35-yard line, the landing zone from the 20 to the goal line. You can have 1 or 2 kickoff returners. It would make sense to have 2 back there, to have 2 returners, because if the ball rolls into the end zone, you get the ball at the 20-yard line. If it is kicked into the end zone and you down it, you get the ball at the 35-yard line. If the ball is kicked and lands before the 20-yard line, it is viewed as a kick out of bounds. So the same thing as if you kick the ball out of bounds. So it would make sense to have 2 returners back there, because if you only had 1, you could probably have a kicker that'd be pretty good of line driving it to land in the 20 and then roll into the end zone. and then you would get the ball at the 20-yard line. So if you've got two back there, you can't line drive it because the other guy can go and pick it up, and now you can go and run. So there's the and you have to announce that you're going to have an onside kick. So there's no surprise onside kick. I don't know how often surprise onside kicks even happened. So you have to announce the onside kick. So that's one of the rules that was passed. And then we talked about hip drop tackles on Monday a little bit. But Dean Blandino, Mr. Dean Blandino, NFL rules officiating expert on ESPN. Let's play clip number 2 here. Dean Blandino talking about the adjusted kickoff rule and what it will do for the NFL.
It will increase the number of returns because there are other parts of this rule that really decentivize the kicking team from just kicking it through the end zone. Because if you just kick it through the end zone, you're going to give your opponent really good field position. Whereas if you hit it, you have to make the 20-yard line on the fly. And if you hit it in the field of play and it's bouncing toward the end zone, if the returner just lets it go into the end zone, your touchback spot is going to be further back. So really, the goal is to kick the ball between the 20 and the goal line and then cover the kick. You know, what remains to be seen is we saw this in the XFL. We didn't see the explosive returns. We saw certainly more returns, but we didn't have as many explosive returns that we thought we might have. So I think that was one of the approaches that the league took to kind of make some changes, give the return team a little more flexibility, which will help in the return game.
It's really interesting, the pendulum swinging in the NFL. There has been a slow pendulum swinging from, kickoff returns constantly to then slowly, okay, you move the kickoff up. Okay, then you move it to the 25-yard line if it goes to the end zone. So now you're incentivizing not kicking off or not returning. Then you can fair catch it to get the ball at the 25-yard line, to the point to where last year there were just really it was a wasted play. To now this year it's you're going to return it. Like, it's going to be returned almost every single time in some way, shape, or form, because you can't fair catch it anymore. That was a 1-year rule. Yeah, there's no fair catching with this particular rule. This is also approved for 1 year. So next year there might be something different. We might go through a 3-year run a 4-year run. So 2 years ago of what the regular kickoff was. Last year with being able to fair catch. This year with the quote-unquote XFL rule. And then whatever they may come up with, what iteration of the kickoff might be next year. It does make the play more exciting. There's no longer sitting around and going, like, when I'm taking notes and the Chiefs score or whoever scores, I'm immediately going to, the next part of my notes and putting 25-yard line.
Yep.
Minus 25. Every time. And if it changes, well, then I'll go back and change it. But 97 times out of 100, I can just move right on from, minus 25 and then go to 1st and 10 of where, what the play is going to be. And I don't have to worry about it. Now I have no idea what it's going to be because they're going to be returning it every single time. And it's certainly going to put an emphasis on, that part of your special teams group and your kickoff return man, obviously your coverage group, obviously your blocking group, and, of course, your special teams coach.
Way more strategy. And as a dude who's typically resistant to change, which I think is human nature, so I know a lot of people who are upset by this are saying, why don't they go back to the original kickoff rules where everyone was getting concussions? Like, I get the NFL, they want safety, but also it's an inherently dangerous game. It's football. Dudes will get hurt. But they want as much action as possible. I found myself, as, again, a guy who was very resistant to change, saying, I love this. More action. More strategy. There's differences now. It's not just a wasted play, as you mentioned. Some things that I thought about, I don't think you put a speedster back there. I know some people are talking about Kadarius Toney, finally a play for Toney. I go,
oh, thank God. Let's figure out a way to get Kadarius Toney on the field.
But I think more of a running back. I think you want vision. Like, I think you want this more as a vision guy back there, not just a speedster, because you're going to try and follow your blocks now. Like, there's going to be so much strategy that is involved. And my initial thought process was, bad teams, this is who benefits the most. The Panthers, right? A team like the Jets last year who had a good defense, horrible offense. But now I'm starting to think, does it really? Because you have someone like Dave Toub, who is a creative genius back there as a special teams coach. I think this benefits Kansas City just as much as any other team. I found myself really enjoying this, and while it's going to look gimmicky at first, I'm warning you now. The first 4 weeks of the season will say, what is going on? Again, as a man who's resistant to change, I will do the same thing. This looks gimmicky. But once it goes on, once it grows, and once it grows on me, I'll find myself, I think, realizing, wow, this is awesome.
I think it'll benefit the teams, and this is where I think it does benefit the Chiefs. I think it'll benefit the teams that have the better roster 1 through 53, because the worse you get at the end of your roster, the worse special teams players you have.
Yeah.
The better your roster is, the better your special teams players are. And if you've got guys like, let's say the Chiefs, have a Deion Bush that, could be playing as a second safety for some teams, and now he's a special teamer. And you've got other guys that are good special teams player, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson, Jerick McKinnon, I doubt will be on the team, but he's been awesome on special teams. The Chiefs have been able to find those guys, develop them. Shamari Connor, dynamite special team player. Justin Watson, awesome special team player. The teams with the better rosters 1 through 53 at the bottom, I think they're the ones that will have the biggest benefit from this rule, because you got to return the kick.
And the Steelers got probably the best free agent for these new rules yesterday in Cordell Patterson that Dave Tobe, I know, wanted to try and sign. And because you can do, like, the first play they showed was a reverse. I don't know if it was the first play, but one of the plays in the XFL they show is one of the blockers just immediately turning upon the guy catching the ball and doing a reverse, and it works. It was, caught him completely off guard. And they had, I think, the Saints special teams coach who was part of this rule change on ESPN yesterday, and he was like, that was the first thing, because they're all trying to scheme it now.
Right.
They're all trying to figure out ways to
They're in the lab.
Skirt the rules, all that stuff. So it's going to be fun. It brings more, because it was a dead play. They said 13 kickoffs in the Super Bowl, all were touchbacks, and like 7 of them went out of the back of the end zone.
Niall Davis is punching sand right now. This is meant for him. Again, I think you're right there, Dylan, with Cordell Patterson, because a guy who's that quick, that strong, and also has played running back before, who has the vision. This is going to be fascinating to watch, because special teams coaches, they had a lot taken off their plate, right? It was just, okay, Butker, go out there. And by the way, no longer do you even have to do the pop-up kicks. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Pop-up kicks do not matter anymore. How long the hang time is does not matter. But now there's more strategy involved for special teams coaches. I'm being slightly facetious, but only a little bit. Game on the line. Do you put Justin Reed back there for kickoffs?
So he's an extra
defender, because
I like it.
I assume in this, the kicker kicks off from the 35. He is your last line of defense. It's always been that way, but again, if there's going to be more returns, seemingly almost every single kickoff, game on the line, I'm not saying every single kickoff, do you put Justin Reed back there, a guy who can kick it that far, who actually can kick, and that way you're not having Butker trying to make a shoelace tackle, you have Justin Reed.
It's the same argument of putting Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle on the other side for a big play. So I think yes. I think the answer would be yes.
Here's my answer: is the Chiefs have a little bit of money to play with. I'm gonna go sign Jamal Agnew, and he's my kickoff return specialist now. If I've got to return it every single time, I don't need to worry about Kadarius Toney. I didn't get Cordell Patterson,
but
I'll go get Jamal Agnew.
He's more our fit as far as age.
Yeah.
Cordell's older, and that would not be a beach move.
Yep. Naheem Hines has already signed, but Naheem Hines is a guy that was awesome, kickoff returner. But Jamal Agnew's still out there. And the Jags signed Devin Duvernay to replace Jamal Agnew.
I thought you were about to say Devin Hester for a second, and I was about to say, wow, that's quick.
You know what? Go get him. You know who would sign him right now? Dave Tobe. Dave Tobe would go and sign Devin Hester right now, if he could, to go and return kicks. But that's a guy that I think Jamal Agnew made a lot of money with it's a lot of money to us. I think he made more money in free agency with this new rule, and maybe that's what he was waiting for. I don't know. But I think he made more money. But if I'm the Chiefs and I'm looking at this, and how many times will we talk about a Dave Tobe guy? Well, Dave Tobe got to keep this guy. Well, that's a Dave Tobe guy. Well, Dave Tobe, special teamer, Dave Tobe kept that guy. I think Jamal Agnew would be a guy that if you're really talking about trying to create an advantage for you, guy averages 28 yards per return in the NFL. I mean, he's one of the best kickoff returners in the NFL. Go and get me Jamal Agnew and move forward with that if this is the new rule and you're going to have to return it. We'll take a time out, come back, more Zone next. rule, we mentioned that, how it affects the Chiefs. They have some cap space now with the L'Jarius Sneed signing trade being official. So what do they do with that cap space? Are they looking to extend some players already on their team, bringing some players back, going out and looking at free agents, Jamal Agnew, guys like that? They could use another wide receiver. People are talking about put Kadarius Toney back there. Okay, put Jamal Agnew and Kadarius Toney back there. Great, they're your 2 kickoff returners. Okay, fine. He can be a gadget wide receiver as well. He can be the guy that, they were hoping Kadarius Toney, they were hoping Kadarius Toney would be more than what he's turned out to be. But that would at least help you alleviate the maybe wanting to use Hollywood Brown in that way, which I don't want to see them use him as a gadget player.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll talk with Myron Metcalf coming up an hour from now, 913-912-4810. Text says, hey, it's my 28th birthday today. Birthday buddies. Dylan and the texter. So there you go. Dylan was sending out an all-staff email to everybody to let them know it's his birthday. So we were in the break, and Dylan was like, so if I send out an all-staff email, I just press all-staff? I'm like, what, are you letting everybody know it's your birthday today?
It was weird. He literally said, can you sing me happy birthday?
Yeah, it's in the email. It says it right here. Hey, guys, just so everybody knows, it's my birthday. I appreciate gift cards and sweets.
Here's my Venmo.
Being serenaded with a happy birthday song? That's a weird email, man. I don't know.
The caption was Dylan's big birthday bash.
That's right. It's Dylan Palooza is going on tonight.
There it is. That was the name that we ended up going with, was Dylan Palooza.
Dylan Palooza.
Yes.
But really, though, he sent an email and didn't even mention that it was, hey, everyone, there's limited availability of some crumble cookies in the break room for anyone who wants one. Kindest regards. God, he's just so professional. So professional. Text says, what happens if you announce on onside kick but end up kicking it deep? It's got to be a penalty of some sort, right? Like a delay a game or something. You just move it back 5. Now you're kicking from your own 30-yard line. Yeah, I would guess it's going to be some sort of a penalty if you announce that. Plus, if you're announcing the onside kick, you probably have to have it. Right? I mean,
also a good point.
You wouldn't announce the onside kick in like the second quarter of like, hey, we're going to onside it here. The onside kick in the second quarter would be a surprise onside kick. Announcing the onside kick is you got to have this. You got to have the onside kick to stay in the game. Text says, or how about you kick it through the uprights on the kick and you get 1 point? If you miss it, then the receiving team gets the ball at the 25 or 30-yard line, something like that. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. Tex says, what happens if the ball lands on the 25? It's treated as a kickoff out of bounds, just like if the ball were to go out of bounds.
Yeah.
If it does not land in the landing zone from the 20-yard line to the goal line, I should say if it lands before the 20-yard line or from the 21 on. So before the 20-yard line, well, is that the 19 or is that the 21? It's like the higher or lower seeded teams. Is the lower seeded team the lower seed like 8? Or is the higher seeded team like the 8 versus a 1? Is it an 8 versus 13? Who's the low? Who's the high? Regardless. But yeah, it would be a kickoff out of bounds. And I don't know, can you have a... So you can call fair catch, but you don't get the ball at the 25-yard line. So the whole, fair catch thing, when I said that you can't call a fair catch, you can't call a fair catch to get it to the 25-yard line. You've always been able to call a fair catch. You just get it where you caught the ball. You call a fair catch at the 10-yard line, you get it at the 10-yard line. Call a fair catch at the 20-yard line, you get it at the 20-yard line. I do wonder if, can you have a kicker that would be good enough to sky the ball? Is Butker a strong enough leg to sky the ball as high as he can to make it then land at the 15 to the 20, but then that gives you time to get your players from the 35, 40-yard line to run down there, and if it's a free kick, now it becomes I don't know, can you hit the guy before? Because,
you can't move until they catch it.
Oh, is that what it is?
No one can move.
I thought it was until it got to the 20. All right.
My understanding was...
well, there's my harebrained idea gone.
Well,
so.
I think my idea was that
Again,
this takes out sky kicks. I will say ESPN and multiple different accounts had different ideas on touchbacks. Some said the 30 and some said the 35. So I feel like
I'm just going to call it the 50.
This is a feeling out period.
Yeah, that's right.
Defense goes down, or defense improves 1 year with the offenses taking a step back, and all of a sudden the NFL goes, we have a major issue. Not the fact that Josh Dobbs was starting 9 games or that Mason Rudolph is getting legit starting snaps. No. Has to be rule changes.
One of those being the hip drop tackle. Dean Blandino, Mr. Dean Blandino, has he was on ESPN last night and weighed in on the hip drop tackle and the officiating, how it's going to be. And then he also looks at where the trend is heading and what it might mean for the NFL and players and how it'll be officiated.
It kind of reminds me of 2008, 2009 when the NFL was looking at hits to the head neck area of the defensive players. And a lot of, the NFLPA and a lot of players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, were pushing back. And the question was, well, what am I supposed to do, right? The receiver's going full speed. The receiver may duck their head. And what we saw is the players adjusted. The coaches adjusted. The officials adjusted. I think the league is hoping that this will be kind of the same result where there will be pushback, but everybody will adjust and everybody will get more comfortable. I do feel like that's a little bit different because we keep making the strike zone smaller for the defensive players. And I think eventually we're really going to be able to say, hey, I can't do anything. I can't hit him high. I can't hit him around the waist now because I might get a hip drop. If they take away the contact low, eventually we're going to make that strike zone so small it's going to be really, really tough to play defense.
The last part of when he said, if they take away the contact down low. I mean, is that the next aspect? I mean, we saw T.J. Hawkinson, turn around, start to run, and a safety dives straight ahead at him and hits his knee. And boom, there's a torn ACL. Is that the next one? Because we're talking about the way the players are tackling. Can you make it safer? Well, the hip drop tackle was causing injuries, so we've got to get rid of that. Okay, so what happens if they go low and they hit somebody's knee? Does that now become a penalty because it's potentially causing injuries? I would love to know, and this is where, somebody in the NFL office or NFLPA or whatever, to go back and look at every single tackle and see all of the criteria that has to be met, the 4 different things that have to happen for it to be an actual hip drop tackle and not just, that looked like one, but it wasn't actually one. For all of those things and those markers to be met, how many of those tackles happened last year? I would love to know how many happened. 25? 30? I actually don't know. 150. I'm not sure what it is. I would love to know the actual number of those last year because I want to compare that to how many penalties are called for hip drop tackles this year, because I guarantee you the penalties for hip drop tackles, to me, this year will be greater than what the actual hip drop tackles that met all of the levels of criteria to get to the 15-yard penalty happened last year.
And not or. It's and not ors on all of these requirements, but we know it's going to be an or, not and when it's called. When Chris Jones taps you on the shoulder, it's a penalty.
Well,
when
Tom Brady.
When you have the body weight on a quarterback, it's a penalty. When you have more subjective calls for referees in a game that moves so incredibly fast, I'm not always blaming referees. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They have to think of 60 different things. Yeah, they're not always great at their job. Same time, it's very hard. They're not always getting help from up above, which makes zero sense. Why can't you can put these chips in golf balls at Top Golf and have all this technology, but for some reason in a $1 billion organization, it's too hard. Can't figure that one out. This makes no sense to me. Refs, the first 4 weeks is going to look like Jawan Taylor at right tackle where every little thing is getting called. It's absurd. I get so frustrated because by the actual rules with all the ands, not a big deal. Yeah. Again, you're right. How often does that actually happen? But we all know that's not how it's going to be called. And when the game is on the line, I'm not just saying Chiefs. The Panthers, the Falcons got screwed out of a game last year with the whole body weight on a quarterback. Yeah. And so I'm sitting here going, when this actually impacts a game, what happens? What happens then? All the cries for rigged, which I think is absurd to begin with, they get louder. When you are in a betting organization, or when you are in partnership with betting organizations, this is going to happen. This is not good for the NFL. I hate subjective calls. It makes zero sense to me. I think it's absurd. What do you want a defender to do, by the way?
Use promo code HIPDROP, and you get your money back if a game is ended on a hip drop tackle. If a game is decided on a hip drop tackle, if you use promo code HIPDROP, then you actually get a bonus bet back.
But what do you want the defender to do? There's inherent risk.
Some risk-free investment.
See, there it is. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Reese Davis might say.
I got a bonus bet back. Come on now.
There's inherent risk in football. The players know this. At some point, what can defenders do? He mentioned it. You're going to have a strike zone, which, robot, maybe they'll get it right. Actually, I mean,
Robot umpires.
If it's
Angel Hernandez,
he's like head to helmet, helmet to helmet. No, that's a strike. That's good.
Angel Hernandez strike zone is you actually touched the wide receiver's arm. He's like, that's a hip drop. And look, I mean, that was well outside the strike zone. I mean, come on, man, that's clearly a hip drop tackle. Angel, not everything that's not chest to neck is a hip drop. According to you. I mean, that's your interpretation. Sure, that's your theory. Need a little wind here. No, you need to drop a couple 100 pounds, blimp. Yeah, that's your theory, okay?
I'm all for making the game safer, and I understand taking the helmet-to-helmet out. That's not a football play. That is a dirty play. It's almost like the NBA back in the 80s when, don't get me wrong, I love Bill Laimbeer. I love throwing bows, but that's more MMA than basketball, right? Helmet-to-helmet's more, I'm trying to take you out than most likely try and make a play. No one, in my opinion, is trying to injure a player with a hip drop tackle. They are trying to make sure a 260-pound man who's 6'5", and you are 6 foot 180, you're trying to make sure he does not get a first down or a touchdown. I know rugby took it out, and I love how rugby, they'll show you 4 clips of a smaller guy taking down a bigger dude. No, show me the majority of the plays. Don't show me the 4 where the smaller guy actually had success. Show me the totality of the plays.
Rugby took it out and became a disaster. Like the first couple of months, the big issue in the NRL when they banned the hip drop tackle was all of the penalties that were called that were not hip drop tackles because they went so extreme of we are going to what I called it when they approved it, Monday afternoon. I said they're going to shock the system. Like early on, it's going to be a shock to the system of hip drop tackle, hip drop tackle, hip drop tackle. Here's a hip drop tackle. It'll remind you of the mid-2000 teens in college basketball when they instituted freedom of movement. And early on, the first month of the season, it was a free throw contest. Everybody hated it. Teams adjusted, though. Teams had to adjust as the season went on, and offense has been much better since then. It's not called, the same way that it was called those first couple of months because any contact was like, boop, sorry, that's a foul. Freedom of movement. You got 2 hands on, you got the arm bar, whatever it might have been. They called it so incredibly tight early on because they wanted to get the point across that this is going to be called. Last year was a wrestling match. We are going to have players and we're going to officiate the rules to where you can't just pull and tug and push in basketball. The guy has to be able to run around a screen or cut through the basket without you pulling his jersey and grabbing him and using your right arm to cut the guy off and pull him back to where you can then gain leverage again. That's not going to be able to happen. We're going to call those fouls. And early on, it was bad. And people were complaining about the free throw contest, and then it evened out, and then defenses adjusted. I think that'll happen here.
Sure.
But again, and what Dean Blandino was talking about, it'll be like when you couldn't go to the head or neck area of quarterbacks. And it was like, well, this is dumb. What are you supposed to do? You can't go to the head or neck area of quarterbacks. That's going to be accidental. And there are plenty of them that are accidental roughing the passer calls. But we're also just used to it now. I'm like, well, no, that was a penalty.
We still say it's horrible, though. That's what it comes down to.
But we've become used to it, though. And now, when you become used to this, then to Dean Blandino's point of, well, then does the strike zone shrink? And now you've taken away the strike from the thigh to the ankle.
Yes.
That's now a ball. That's now outside of the strike zone.
No neck or above. Get it.
Yeah.
Understand. Mm-hmm. No hip drop. Players apparently think it's dirty when you go for the knees or lower. You're left with, again, a strike zone of here, which how often when you're running 4-4s and you're that size, do you have a legit ability to just say, I'm going to wrap up form tackle you right there? How often in the flow of the game do you actually have the opportunity to have a form tackle? Very, very rare. So what do you want these guys to do?
Well, and when they banned the horse collar. I mean, we talked about what are these guys supposed to do? If you're running from behind, you grab them, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty. But the defenses have adjusted, and we've just sort of become used to it. Like, no, that's a horse collar. Throw the flag, that's a horse collar. Or nothing you complain about, man. Chiefs, he did the horse collar. Then you also have the absurd officiating when Derek Nottie pulls the guy down from the front.
Sure.
And they called that a horse collar tackle. And it should have been a, 4th and long or whatever. Instead, it resulted in a 15-yard penalty because the league is skewed and it is scripted for the Chiefs in a play that clearly was detrimental to their game that day in which they lost because Derek Nottie pulled the guy down from in front. That was somehow, it was called a
horse collar.
Horse collar, thank you.
I want less.
I was going to say hip drop, and I'm like, no, we're talking about horse collar.
I want less penalties. I want less subjectivity from the refs because, again, the refs are in a hard spot. But once you put a rule in.
Yeah, do your job.
When you put a rule.
It's hard. Okay, then don't do it.
I get it's that simple, but.
Paving roads is hard. But
no one's perfect. I mean, there's never been a ref out there who are like, oh, yeah, that guy's just phenomenal. Almost every single ref is he blows calls here and there. It's hard. But I'm just sitting here going, you don't take, typically, penalties out of the game. They did it basically once with the ability to challenge, and that was a disaster.
Pass interference.
Pass interference.
Nothing got overturned.
So
it was just a waste of time.
So I'm sitting here going, once you start implementing more and more rules and regulations for what you can and can't do, that's the new norm, and that's never going to change. It's the same reason why we got used to the body weight on the quarterback. We got used to roughing the passer. It still sucks. It still impacts games. It still influences games.
I want more rules against the
because Mahomes.
Up until 2038, we can readdress it at 2038, 2039 when we get there. But until then, I don't think you should be able to breathe in a 5-yard vicinity of a quarterback. But just my opinion. That's just how I think the game should be. It's an unbiased view.
Don't we all want the players to actually have the most influence over a game instead of subjective calls from referees? That's where I'm at with all this.
You can say that with any sport, though.
But I think in football, it's more paramount because you have fewer possessions. Basketball, you have 80, 100,
70,
however fast you run your offense. Baseball, you have 9 innings, and quite frankly, you have the easiest referee jobs because you can look at a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. A lot, not the strike zones, obviously, but if you're safe, home runs, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of objective calls in baseball,
but football,
certainly.
But
and
football,
it can become objective when you can go to replay.
Sure, but football, how many possessions do you have a game? 10?
10 to 12, 13, depending.
And you have these. You think you have a stop, and all of a sudden, now they score a touchdown. Mm-hmm. You don't have as many opportunities to make up for the bad calls. You have not as much of an opportunity to make up for a ref influence. And that's why I think football, when you have all of these subjective calls, it's way more of an influence over this sport than any other.
Yeah. We'll see how often it's called. I hope it is much ado about nothing. I really do. I hope this ends up being where we talk a lot about it and then we get into it and we just don't ever see it. Because they allowed you to challenge the pass interference. And it was just a waste of time. They never overturned them. I mean, all of the challenges were pass interference. One or two of them.
They purposefully did not overturn all those because they didn't want everyone being able to question. I think that was the officials' union
fighting back.
Yes.
Yeah, fighting back and saying, see, we don't make mistakes because, they've never actually admitted a mistake.
Except in the letter that
later on.
Sees.
Yeah. But after a game, it's like you can definitely justify whatever call was made. I hope it's much ado about nothing. And that was so the pass interference, not overturning those calls, was, to Dylan's point, the officials going, nope, it rises to the level of pass interference. We're gonna stay with the call on the field. This one, I don't know if they don't call it as often, or I think they're going to call it more often. But I think it's an interesting point by Dylan. And I know this isn't the point he's making, but it popped into my head when he talked about the pass interference. Is that there is an element of the officials going, well, now we got to officiate this too. Bleep that, we can't see it that fast. It's not a hip drop tackle. No, it's not. We're gonna err on the side of not hip drop,
and let the camera. After the fact,
I think they're gonna err on the side of hip drop tackle early on, so that it then helps them officiate it less once it's just simply out of the game. Once they feel like the defenses have adjusted and they're no longer doing that, therefore it makes it easier for the officials to officiate because it's just simply not happening. That's it's the same thing with body weight on a quarterback. Well, it's so subjective that he landed. The defenses have adjusted to such a degree that it makes it easier to officiate that because you're seeing almost every single defender when they're landing on a quarterback is bracing themselves or they're picking their arms up, and holding their arms out. You can land on the quarterback as long as your arms aren't wrapped around, as long as your arms are up and it shows that you're trying to at least slide off to the side. At the beginning, it's like, well, did he raise both arms? Was it one arm? They were calling it a lot. Now the defense have adjusted. It makes it easier for them to officiate. I think it'll be more of that early on. If we're going to call it a lot, defenses are going to adjust, and now it makes it easier on us to not have to call it because they're just simply not doing it anymore. We'll find out. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I want to talk some wide receivers. I know I mentioned Jamal Agnew, but the Chiefs have some cap space. And what do they do with that cap space? Are they bringing back a Michael Dana? Do you extend a Creed Humphrey, a Trey Smith, a Nick Bolton? somebody along those lines? Do you go out and get a veteran wide receiver? We'll talk a little bit about that on the other side of the break. 913-912-4810. We continue rolling along. More Zone right after this. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes hanging out with us. A couple of more segments. Dylan Michaels hanging out with us until 2 on his birthday. He's working on his birthday.
What an idiot.
He's wearing a clerk shirt that says, I'm not even supposed to be here today. Good for you. 913-912-4810. We'll talk with Myron Metcalf, ESPN's college basketball insider. We'll talk with him coming up at noon. The Sweet 16 Elite 8 getting underway on Thursday. And, of course, you can hear that right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Every game, as we've done in the past, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB and ESPN Kansas City. Every game of the NCAA tournament, all the action will air. It's presented by Xfinity, Greenlight Dispensary, Hollywood Casino, and Trailside RV. That is coming up tomorrow night and Friday and on into the weekend's worth of games on Saturday as well. And Saturday women's college basketball with the doubleheader of LSU, UCLA, followed by Iowa playing Colorado. And damn, I wish it was Iowa, Kansas State. Oh, my wife and I, K-State women's basketball fans, because the twins that went to Barstow that are now at K-State. So we've watched K-State all year, and man, they just could not finish and make anything in late third quarter on into the fourth against Colorado. And it was so frustrating. Layups, easy, open threes that just like they've knocked down all year. And that's the tournament. That's what it takes. One game where you have a 5-minute stretch to where you just can't hit anything and the other team is knocking down shots and your season's over. And that sucked. I really wanted to see K-State against Iowa, to see Lee taking on – so you got Caitlin Clark and the guards and the scores against Kansas State that's going to bully you down low. Yeah. And they've got some scores as well and some guards. That would have been a fun matchup. I'll just be watching it for Caitlin Clark and Iowa, rooting for them over Colorado. But then you get an LSU-UCLA game right before that. That'll be a lot of fun. And of course, you can watch Kim Mulkey act like she's being attacked constantly for some reason. Sleazy reporter, that Kent Babb. That Kent Babb and that sleazy reporter. I'll tell you what, his damn reporting on Scott Pioli and Todd Haley and everybody feeling like they were being watched and spied on, and there was trash in the stairwell and a wrapper that was never picked up or anything. That damn Kent Babb and his reporting for the Washington Post. That decorated, award-winning Kent Babb, sleazy reporter. This guy, think about how awful Kent Babb is. Think about this, and I understand where Kim Mulkey's coming from. Kent Babb gave her a deadline to answer questions this week during the NCAA tournament. And Kim Mulkey was so mad about it at the press conference, she said, this guy's been trying to get me to answer questions for 2 years. And then he gives me a deadline at the tournament? I mean, he did that on purpose. You just said he's been asking you for 2 years. That's not a deadline. That's a, hey, eventually I got to put this. These are the questions. You call it a hit piece. I'm allowing you to respond. These are the things that are said. What is your response to that? Oh, I'm not going to answer that. Leave me alone. I'm not going to answer that. Okay, well, we've got till Friday to answer it, and then we're going to go to print. It's the tournament. Now all of a sudden you're trying to, give me this ultimatum. I got things to do. You're not going to distract me and my team. I'm not going to let some sleazy reporter distract me. Well, if you're that worried about it before it comes out, I think you probably have some skeletons that you know that's going to be released. So whatever. There you go. That's going to be on Saturday. We'll give something to root for against LSU and for Caitlin Clark in Iowa. I love Angel Reese. I like the players, and Haley Van Lith is a really good player. Just don't like Milwaukee. So if LSU wins, then great. We get to see more Angel Reese and the players, but we also get to see more Kim Mulkey. So it's like, I don't know. It's like it's weighing it one way or another. All right, the Kansas City Chiefs, we know they've got the cap space now as L'Jarius Sneed is officially a part of the Tennessee Titans, and the Kansas City Chiefs have the freed up cap space, and they're sitting about $26.5 million of cap space. Now, they're going to need about $4.7 million of that to go to their draft class, assuming they don't trade back and get more picks. Of course, if you trade back, then you're not paying the full price of like a first-round pick. If they trade out of the top 32 and then go into the second round, then you're looking at less money as for that. But regardless, let's just call it 4.7. So $4.7 million that they're going to have to give to the draft class. That leaves about $21.5 million. They need 4 of that to keep the lights on. So you're looking at $16-17 million in theory that they have to work with to go and sign some players. I don't know what Mike Dana is going to be, and I don't know if the market's going to come back to the Chiefs for Mike Dana, but I hate it for him, but I like it for the Chiefs that he hasn't signed yet, because some of those big money, this is now the value area. This is now where people are not signing for $20-25 million, unless you're being traded for. The free agents aren't getting $20-25 million on the open market right now, okay? So has Mike Dana's market come back to the Chiefs? I hope it has. I would hate it for him because he's busted his butt and went from a 5th-round draft pick to a guy that's a very valuable piece for the Chiefs. And if he comes back to the Chiefs, I am all for it. I just wonder, what do they do at wide receiver? Because that's going to be a big part of us, discussing, what they do in the draft. What do they do at tackle, if anything? Because right now, if you said they go into the draft or they go into next season, they've got Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. That's 5 players right now. And we expect them to draft a player, right? There's 6 players. There's 6 wide receivers right there. That's typically the max that they keep. And I know last year we were talking about 7. They have so many wide receivers. How could you possibly get rid of one of these wide receivers? They got 7 of them. They got 7 wide receivers. Well, the old saying of if you have 7, you don't have 1. Isn't that the saying in football? If you have 7, you don't have 1?
2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1.
Oh, it's if you have 2, you don't have 1. I thought it was wide receivers. If you have 7, you don't have 1. If you have 7, you don't have 3. See,
there you go.
It's the old adage, and 40 is the new 30. 29 is the new 25. Dylan, you're fine. You're all good. I don't know if they're going to spend the money on a wide receiver to give them even more flexibility in the draft. If it's going to be sort of again, I've talked about Jamal Agnew. If they go and get a wide receiver and it's Jamal Agnew, fantastic, because now you got to return kicks. So now you've got him as a wide receiver. So now you're sitting at 5, you're sitting at 6 without a draft pick. And if you go and draft somebody and they come in, well, then guess what? Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, or even Justin Watson, somebody's got to go. Now, Justin Watson being a 4-phase player on the special teams, I don't think Dave Toub would want him going anywhere, so he would then be on the team. So guess what, Kadarius Toney, it may be time to go. Sky Moore, gave you a couple of years, it's just not working. Gave you a couple of years, another offseason and a training camp, it's just not working because we got this kick returner in Jamal Agnew. We are carrying somebody on this team now that is important. Unless they view it and say Isaiah Pacheco's our kickoff returner, well, guess what? He's your starting running back too. Yeah. So you're going to try to, especially when you're getting tackled now. You're going to be getting tackled. It's one thing to be a kickoff returner that's just going to stand back there and catch the ball or watch it go over your head or call for a fair catch. No, you're going to get tackled every time now. So Pacheco doesn't need to be back there. Do they draft a running back and maybe that's your guy? Hey, that's fine, if that's the case. But they've got a little bit of money to spend. They can't go out there and just be throwing, money around. But, there really isn't to me, a wide receiver that they go out and sign that's a difference maker. No. That you sign this guy, boom, now you got a Hollywood Brown. You go out and sign somebody, it'd be, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is like one of the top free agent wide receivers left. Because I don't want Odell Beckham Jr.
How dare you?
Sorry.
How dare you not want him?
Dare you? Tyler Boyd would be fine.
No.
No. Because he's a Bengal.
No, that dude, to say he's fallen off a cliff is disrespectful to cliffs.
I don't want him to be my first, second, or third choice.
Have you seen him over the past few seasons and also last year specifically?
Yep.
T. Higgins got hurt at some points. Jamar Chase missed some games. You know who was there? Tyler Boyd. You know who did nothing? Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
They had some dude named Andre
Iguodala.
It's Andre Iguodala.
AI.
I couldn't say the guy's last
Karolinko.
name. I forgot about Karolinko with Utah. That guy was awesome.
Drummond.
Yeah.
Come on, keep going. We got
Andre Miller. Miller.
There you go.
There we go.
Dawson.
IOVI, whatever that guy's name is. The guy from, I think, Princeton. That guy stepped up more than Tyler Boyd. If that should tell you something, that even the Bengals don't believe.
I don't want to pay $5 million
Boyd.
for Tyler Boyd. What I'm saying is if that's a guy that, if you're saying you go out and get a veteran wide receiver.
Sure.
I don't want Odell Beckham Jr., and I don't want him wanting $10 million. No, thank you. They already got Hollywood Brown. But if your receivers are Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, a draft pick, and then Tyler Boyd is your 5th option or 4th option,
sure.
Then, okay, I'll take him at $2-3 million. I don't want Marquez Valdes-Scantling at $11 million. DJ Shark. Does he stay healthy? Is he a guy you bring in? Just depending on how much that's going to cost. Do you throw take a flyer on a Michael Thomas? And probably not. Josh Reynolds has been talked about. The Chiefs wanted Josh Reynolds a couple of years ago. There's a player from the Washington Commanders that's a free agent named Byron Pringle. Just wondering if that's a guy that, local guy. Local, went to K-State. You know that? Byron Pringle, K-Stater. Is that somebody? I'm just saying, those are the names that are out there right now.
Yes.
That was the importance of getting Hollywood Brown, is because without Hollywood Brown, those are the names and the pool you're swimming in, the market you're dealing with the free agent wide receivers right now. The importance of signing a Hollywood Brown, because it does give you the flexibility of, if none of these guys, entice you, or they want more money than you're willing to give them, well, then if you say we get a draft pick, first or second round in the NFL draft, and our receiver room is Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, a draft pick, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and those are your 6. Justin Watson is your 4th, receiver, and he doesn't have to start and doesn't have to play 80% of the snaps. Well, then you've gotten better than where you were a year ago, and where you were a year ago was clearly good enough to win a Super Bowl because they did that, and now you're better with that.
I want to go back to Mike Dana very quickly with you,
let's
because
do it. I'd like to go back to Mike Dana too. I'd like for him to go back to the Chiefs. But
big fan of him. I think he's been perpetually underrated for a long time. I was shocked. I don't know if you ever use Spot Track for your numbers as far as values. His average annual salary was way more than I ever expected. They projected him as a 3-year, $50 million contract, breaking down to $16.7 million per year. That seems absurd.
The PFF and Spielberger put him at 3 years, $25 million.
And that makes way more sense. The reason being is they compared him to a lot of other names, and the main one was Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones with the Seahawks. And if you look at the numbers that Draymond Jones put up, you're sitting here going, well, yeah, you know what? Mike Dana is worth that amount of money. But again, I think that Spot Track was using a contract that was a bad contract to try and bump up Mike. You're right. The longer that Mike Dana stays on the open market, I think the better it is for Kansas City. I'm sure his agents are seeing what they put on Spot Track, seeing what Draymond Jones got, what Carl Lawson got, and they're saying, you know what? Why can't our guy get that? At the end of the day, because 2 bad contracts happened doesn't mean that a team is going to give out a 3rd bad contract. So I think that's where Mike Dana's at, and hopefully he comes back. But also the issue is, does he want to be a starter? If he comes back to Kansas City next year, he might be a starter for the first half of the season, because you would have FAU as the growth piece still, getting more of a rotational piece until Charles Omenihu comes back. But does he want to actually get a starting job somewhere else? We saw it with Andrew Wiley. We saw it with Allegretti. Not just the money. Obviously, that was great. But when you also have the opportunity to be a starter, it's kind of funny as both with the Commanders. Sorry, Dylan, Washington football team.
Thank you. I agree with Dylan.
Yeah, it's Washington football team.
They should have stayed with football team.
They back-assed their way into football team, and they messed it up.
And then they messed it up. Yeah, shocker.
But it comes down to, what does Dana want? Not just money, but does he want to be a starter? And that's what I think a lot of the holdup, in my opinion, would be.
Well, and the question is, how much do the Chiefs trust FAU? If the Chiefs trust FAU to step up, then they can go without Mike Dana. You can spend that money elsewhere. If they think FAU is ready to play. The difference is FAU being a guy that's a pass rush specialist right now. Mike Dana's a guy that can set the edge, play the run, can slide down inside. I'm not ready to say, well, Malik Herring can take on that role while Charles Omenihu gets healthy. No, I don't need Malik Herring out there doing that. I know he's back with the Chiefs, but that's fine. He's a nice depth piece. But as far as the defensive end goes, you've got George Karlaftis, you've got FAU, and you've got an injured Omenihu, who is going to start the season on the PUP list. I highly doubt that he's going to be ready for week number 1. So let's say he misses the first 4 weeks. Do you sign Mike Dana because you're worried about the first 4 weeks of having somebody play that? Or you sign Mike Dana because also you're worried about the depth throughout an entire season? Because Karlaftis, FAU, and an injured Omenihu right now. Those are your defensive ends. And I don't know, maybe Malik Herring. But again, I'm not going with that. The question that the Chiefs and Joe Cullen and the defensive staff have to make and ask themselves and come up with an answer before you go and sign Mike Dana is FAU ready to go? Is FAU ready to step up? If he is, then you can spend those resources elsewhere and not on Mike Dana and, a 2-year, $15 million contract for Mike Dana or something like that. You can save that, $5 or $6 million cap hit this year and use it somewhere else. Use it on offensive linemen, use it on linebacker, use it on safety, whatever you might want to use it on Hell, Jamal Agnew. Use it on something else, right?
Your Jamal Agnew was my last year's Richie James, and I got my wish that did not.
I was there with you. I really, really loved Richie James. There have been 2 free agent signings that I've loved for the Chiefs the last 4 or 5 years. One was Jerick McKinnon, and when they first signed him, I'm like, this is such an underrated signing. I think he's going to be really good in the Chiefs. It took a while. It took a while before he eventually became that. And I really liked the Richie James signing. So, 1 for 2, I guess. I'm sort of like the Chiefs picking wide receivers in the second round in the last couple of years. 1 for 2. Got a Sky Moore, got a Rashee Rice. What are you going to do? But yeah, I'll take a Jamal Agnew. I'll take a Mike Dana. But it's just a matter of the question we don't know the answer to, that they have to ask themselves. You drafted him in the first round. You don't draft FAU in the first round for year number 2. Go, I'm not sure he's ready. I'm not sure we can go without Mike Dana because FAU isn't ready to go to start as a defensive end in the NFL. It's a first-round draft pick. It's go time. Time to take your diapers off and go to work.
I don't disagree. He was also drafted as more of a
story. More of a cool story.
A project.
I think he was also drafted as a cool story too. I love the kid. He's a Lee Summit kid, so I'm not trying to take a shot at him all. But
look at.
He does have a tackle for loss in the Super Bowl. You don't. Neither do I. I don't know why I went after you.
Yeah, I'm the one backing him up. Okay.
Oh yeah, Sterling. Where's your TFL in the Super Bowl, punk?
Yeah, it's a long mixtape. It's the one play. No, but he was drafted as a project to me.
I know. Yeah.
Karlaftis was drafted because they needed a guy that year. Last year, the Chiefs actually had a lot of depth for the majority of the season on the defensive line. They were able to have him redshirt, if you will. While, yes, it is go time, I don't think it's as paramount that he's a absolute starter like Karlaftis was. That to me was not why he was drafted.
Well, then he shouldn't have been drafted in the first round.
Don't disagree. They tried trade up. They tried trading back. They couldn't. It takes 2 to tango. Who are you going to take there? You're going to draft Rashee Rice in the first round instead? Wait.
Then you'd have a second rounder to
and you would have drafted FAU.
Well, then if FAU in the second round, then yes, I'm okay with that.
That's my whole point. Is if you would have just switched Rashee Rice and FAU from first to second, are we having this conversation? No. Look at the majority of draft boards. The majority of draft boards have had FAU right there. It's not this absurd reach that I think people want to make it out.
I don't think it's an absurd reach. I just think it's year number 2. You need your first round draft pick starting.
Sure.
Year number 2, you need your first round draft pick starting if he's an edge defender. Especially when your starting edge defender is on the PUP list for George Karlaftis. So he's not even expected to start. It's just, can you start while Omenihu is recovering?
Yeah, and to Karlaftis, I mean, he was way further along than FAU was his first
That was
year.
why I wanted Karlaftis to be drafted originally, is because we knew that he could start week 1. Maybe not be, he's not going to be J.J. Watt, prime J.J. Watt, but we know he's going to be a good player, a consistent player.
I look down the stats and I see somebody who led the Chiefs in sacks last year was George Karlaftis.
He's awesome.
And maybe it's unfair to compare FAU to that, but they're drafted right around the same spot in the draft. FAU, given more of an opportunity, maybe he does succeed. And again, if the Chiefs feel like he can do that, then you don't need Mike Dana. You can use those resources somewhere else. If the Chiefs bring back Mike Dana, to me, that's an indication of what they may think of FAU and his ability this year to go and play. They need more depth, and they need somebody that Mike Dana will start at defensive end opposite George Karlaftis if he's on this team week number 1. Unless Charles Omenihu's healthy, and then Charles Omenihu can go to start opposite George Karlaftis, and then you got Dana and FAU.
You still need depth, though.
I don't disagree.
You still need depth. So even if you bring back Mike Dana on I think the contract will tell a story.
Yeah.
I think the contract tells a story. If it's a 2-year, 3-year, whatever that is, if it's a multi-year deal for Mike Dana, then I think that tells a story. If it's a 1-year deal, and let's just say it's a relatively close split, snap count wise, that does not bother me. But if you're right, if Mike Dana is getting the majority of the snaps, the lion's share, and then Charles Omenihu comes back and you're still not seeing FAU, then I'll start to panic. I just don't want to panic after 1 year when we see, again, I always say 2 positions, defensive line, offensive line, the trenches specifically. That's when you see year 1 to year 2 is typically the biggest growth. The Karlaftis, that is, to me, the rarity. The norm is guys, their rookie season. Look at Kayvon Thibodeau. I know he was injured a little bit apart. Look at the majority of players. It takes them a long time. Aiden Hutchinson was brutal the first 8 weeks. The dude for Jacksonville was brutal for how long?
And I don't want to compare FAU to a top 10 pick. That's unfair to FAU, is compare him to a top 10 pick. But I think your point is even saying a top 10 pick took a little bit of time.
They struggle. Andrew Thomas, offensive line and defensive line, those are the 2 positions.
For sure.
Give time.
I get it. I totally understand. I think Mike Dana, the contract, you're right. Whether they bring him back, the contract will tell a story. I really hope that FAU is ready to go. I want him to be the starting defensive end opposite George Karlaftis. I want him to earn it. not given the job because of availability. I want him to earn it and then go, yep, this is what we saw. This is a guy, he was really young, but they also talked about how young Karlaftis was. Like, one of the great things about Karlaftis was he's so young. One of the things that they said, well, give FAU time is because he's so young. Well, they used both of them to their in their favor, opposite sort of storylines back-to-back years. So we'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up this hour next. Sterling hanging out with us. Sterling, you got some names to throw out there?
All right, free agent cornerbacks. I'm going to give you the names. A lot of big names, a lot of old names, a lot of washed-up names. I'm going to guess or say the name. You guess the age. Xavier Howard.
Oh, he's like 29, right?
30. Okay, not bad.
Yeah.
J.C. Jackson, stud J.C. Jackson, who's washed up.
27?
28. Okay, you're actually doing way better than I thought.
I'm 1 year off.
Cameron Sutton. And he's not that old, 29. My major point here was you're looking at a lot of these ages. Vontae Maddox, 27. Levi Wallace, 28. You're looking at these ages.
Stephon Gilmore, 34, right?
33. When do guys start falling off?
My bad. Like 27, 28?
How old L'Jarius Sneed?
27?
Yeah.
28? 27?
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
A lot of big names. A lot
so
of
you're
washed
saying
up
you
names.
want Stephon Gilmore for $50 million. I get it. I hear you. Totally. I disagree, though.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Mick Schaefer will hang out with us coming up later on this hour. We'll get the ZOUs, our Royal ZOUs, zone over-unders, and go through and see who loses. You don't have to win. You just can't be the slowest swimmer in the sea. You don't have to be the fastest either to not owe everybody the lunch. We're talking now some college basketball from ESPN, our college basketball insider, Myron Metcalf, presented by Jackson County CASA. Jackson County CASA benefits when Myron Metcalf is on the air. It's court-appointed special advocates, community volunteers just like you. They stand up and speak out to help children who have experienced abuse or neglect. It's Jackson County CASA, CASA-MO.org. Talking to college basketball, Myron Metcalf joining us here in the Zone. Myron, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Good, man. Another round coming up with the tournament, so I'm looking forward to it.
Based on your tweets, why do you hate Clemson so much? Like, do you just have like this disdain for Clemson? Do you just hate them? Did they not accept you out of college or out of high school? Like, why do you hate them so much?
Well, I mean, first off, let's be honest. Some of those guys found out they had a basketball team last week, right? so I mean, like some of that is come on. All right, everybody relax a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I ranked them. I did the reseeding of the Sweet 16. Mm-hmm. I ranked them last, and they were upset about it. I mean, every year I do it, someone's upset. Like, nobody wants to be last, but it's like you're last among the last 16 teams in the tournament. It's not like you're last place overall, so, but
you didn't rank
have
Clemson
some kind of way.
You didn't rank Clemson 68 out of 68 before the tournament started.
Yeah, exactly.
They're worse than Montana State.
They've gotten kind of upset a little bit, but I don't know. I guess some of them wandered over from spring practice and heard there was a basketball game going on, and now they got, a lot of strong opinions. But I got nothing against them. I don't know who else I'd rank beneath them.
Yeah, I would actually, I'll volunteer as tribute for you to say Missouri is the worst team remaining in the Sweet 16. I will volunteer my team to be ranked 16th in the Sweet 16 with a chance to go and still play in the tournament. Myron Metcalf is our guest. I wanted to talk to you about what we've seen so far in the tournament, and then we can get into like KU and some other things going on. But we talked how chalky the tournament was on Monday. We did here in the show, and there's been some views or opinions of, hey, this is just simply how the tournament's going to go with transfer portal and NIL. You're just going to see these blue bloods that are going to win, and you're not going to see the Cinderellas. And it's an interesting take, considering last year we saw the Cinderellas and the lower-seeded teams, and we said, well, NIL and transfer portal, this is just how it's going to be. Those big teams are not going to be able to maintain their same level of blue blood. Is either side more likely to remain, or, hey, it's the NCAA tournament. Sometimes you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes you get a 5, a 9, and an 8 in the Final Four?
Yeah, the chaos will continue. I mean, what's so bad in this sport about taking a small sample size and just having a whole conversation about it, right? Like, you can't trust us because we'll say something one year and then the next year we'll be like, none of that was true, right? So I don't know. I mean, to me, in the portal era, though, you're going to have more and more good teams that are outside the blue bloods that aren't among those top 25 just because they're going to have veteran dudes who are 22, 23. And if they come together and play the right way, they can make a run. So I think you'll have more potential upsets because I think instead of having a Cinderella, a team that maybe can win a game, I think you're going to have some good teams that can maybe get to the second weekend and can battle some of the better top 25 teams. So, but we do this every year. I mean, it's the greatest event in sports. There's 3 weeks of chaos. Legitimately, anything can happen. 2 1 seeds have lost in the last 6 years, right? Oakland had a Division II dude torch Kentucky, which decided not to adjust. I mean, you could have an 8th grade coach, right, who would have said, listen, you can't let them keep doing the same thing. But Jack Golke comes out of nowhere, hits 10 threes.
Yeah.
Like, this is just what the tournament is. We're not football. You can't overpower everybody, And I think that's why you see the parity that we've witnessed from year to year.
Well, and my point that I made when the portal was going on, and I think there was an overreaction of, okay, well, these small schools are going to lose players to the bigger schools, and it's just going to be a one-way street. And, the point I made on Monday was, Grand Canyon's in the game, and they're leading with, 5 minutes to go. They got a lead in that game. And their stud player is Tyon Grant Foster from Kansas. He transferred from KU. Yeah. So we see those different guys. And Jack Golke didn't, go to Kentucky or North Carolina. I think Cal would have liked to have Jack Golke on his team just because he wouldn't be on Oakland. That would have been an advantageous scholarship to use. But, we say that see that in different years, like these guys that may transfer from a bigger school down to a smaller school, and they become, stars. They become, guys that get an opportunity to play many more minutes and show what they can do. And certainly Grant Foster's story is a little bit different when he's had the heart condition and, didn't know that he was going to play basketball again. So it's a really cool story. A local kid from KCK. So it's one of the reasons why, we paid a little bit more attention to Grand Canyon this year and in the tournament and watching Tyon. But, that's a guy that Grand Canyon's really good. Their best player is a guy that played at Kansas, for a couple of years. And so that transfer portal went the other way. It's a two-way street. You might be losing some. KU didn't have Ernest Uday because they got Hunter Dickinson, and TCU did have Uday. If without the transfer portal, TCU doesn't have it, and KU may not have Hunter Dickinson, but maybe they do. Maybe Uday stays as well, and it's something you and I talked about of just maintaining that when other guys want some more opportunities. I think we should acknowledge as much as we acknowledge some of the smaller schools, the Dalton Connect from Northern Colorado, even Timberlake from Towson, and playing for Kansas. Acknowledge some of the players that went the other way and are playing at mid-major schools that were at Power 5 programs at one point.
Yeah, I mean, it can go both ways. I mean, it's all about finding an opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, granted, some of these guys are leaving, and they're not going to get an opportunity, right? Because, the game of dominoes is not going to work in their favor. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of it all. Is there's a chance to move up. There's a chance to move laterally. There's a chance to move down, if you will. But guys are just looking for an opportunity to compete and an opportunity to play. And, listen, we make this all about basketball because – that's the easier conversation, but who knows what some of these guys have going on, in their lives and why potentially making a move is good for them, and good for their family. So, I think ultimately the freedom is a really good thing. The chaos that has been created is a challenge that somebody has to figure out, but I do like hearing those stories of a guy like that who went through so much and found a place to play and got back to the big stage.
Absolutely. Myron Metcalf is our guest. The transfer portal timing, is that something that should be addressed by the NCAA of having the portal open the Monday of the day after the brackets are released and teams are trying to go through the tournament, and they're also trying to get their transfer portals and players, and Iowa State got clearly TJ Otzelberger is able to do it because Iowa State got a bigger player in the transfer portal while they're still getting ready for Illinois. The timing of it, should it be moved back to post-April, post-national championship for that, to make it maybe a little bit easier on coaches that seem to have the complaint and maybe turning down NIT invitations because they got to worry about the transfer portal?
Yeah, I think you got to do something. You got to move it. I mean, that's just too the timing isn't good, but I think it's bigger than that, right? I mean, you can move it, and the portal itself is going to be the challenge, right? How do you balance a world where you have some teams that are going to get rid of 7, 8, 9 guys and bring in 8, 9 new guys? That is already becoming a major problem. But to your question, I'll give you a story about that. So the portal opens on Monday. I know an assistant coach who had to scout, for his upcoming game. And instead of doing that, he had to go to the portal. And he told me he was on the phone all day, parents, agents, players, everybody. That was his day, and just didn't have a lot of time to get to the film and have that prep day. Guess what? His team lost. Now, I'm not saying they lost because of that, but that is the reality for a lot of these coaches. The way I've talked to so many coaches, man, under 50 who are like, I'm not doing this forever. They don't want to coach forever because they can't sustain it. It's consuming their lives in ways that it just shouldn't. At the end of the day, I just think we need to break off of the NCAA Let all of the power schools come up with their own rules, come up with their own guidelines on NIL and the portal, and everybody can kind of agree, okay, this is reasonable. Because the way it's going, it's just not going to be sustainable. And I think the burnout level is going to be so high, not even just from coaches, but, I mean, players too. And then I think the question we're afraid to ask with the portal, because I support the freedom, but the question guys in our business are afraid to ask is, who's graduating? Who's graduating?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We know 1% of these guys got a real shot to be in the NBA. Who's getting their degrees? Like, I can't tell you, bro. I know a prominent coach who's in the Sweet 16 right now, and he told me not that long ago, he said, you wouldn't believe how many former players call me and ask for money. They're broke. So, like, there's another layer to this that, like, we're afraid to talk about because you don't want to sound like you're against the portal. But there has to be nuance in this deal. Like, it can be a great thing that they have this freedom. But it can also be a terrible thing as to how this is all being managed. Two things can be true. You got to figure out the second part.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be like we paid a lot of attention to graduation rate. I mean, that was one of the things to where, you
Nobody cares now.
Criticize a coach like, wow, this guy's not graduating anybody. Remember, it was like, Bob Huggins in Cincinnati. It's like they don't graduate anybody. This is you're going out and getting a bunch of people that are, coming in just to play basketball. Like, you're not getting student athletes. You're just getting basketball players. Yes. But that was a big deal. And now it's, are you on track to graduate? That's what we will judge you by. Because also the graduation thing was kind of BS too, because if you transferred to another school and graduated there, you didn't get credit for that player graduating. He had to come in as a freshman and graduate as a senior to get credit for that guy's graduation rate. That was a little skewed there because there are plenty of regular students. I transferred schools, in just regular college and graduated somewhere else. It took me 7 years, but, a lot of people do that. They're called doctors, but whatever, it's fine. I mean, just blaze your own path is what I say. But to that degree, when talking about the transfer portal and sort of being of two minds, Bill Self's comments got a lot of run over the weekend of him saying, to Vahe Gregorian, local writer with the Kansas City Star, that, Vahe asked him about this team, and it was a longer answer. What he said, and to be honest with you, I've been looking ahead to next year for the last month. That in and of itself, just those words, it's like, wow. I mean, Bill Self has sort of given up on the season. But it was a larger answer from the question about, the position his team is in, that he was getting smoked by Gonzaga in the second half, and he looked at his bench, and I don't have answers. There's nothing I can do here. You just sort of have to sit there, and it's very rare, Myron, where Bill Self can sit on the sideline and go, I am ammoless. There's nothing I can do. I don't have answers to this. And his point about, looking ahead to next year was really from a CEO standpoint of what is going on this year, how are we in this position, and how do I make sure this doesn't happen next year?
Yeah. And, I mean, let's be honest about the Kansas season, right? They peaked early. What they did early in the season was incredible. And UConn and some of the wins they had. And then once Kevin got hurt, and let's be honest, I heard some chatter online from people about Kevin and whether or not he was willing himself to play. I'm probably one of the few people who talked to Kevin in between all this, because I know he wasn't made available to most people. And I can tell you for a fact, man, that dude was risking his body every time he went out there. That dude was in training, at the trainers at 7 a.m., trying to wheel himself to play. He barely got out there for the Baylor game when he came back and his family was there, and then for senior night. Those were just an amazing demonstration of his will, because that dude was messed up and was really hurt, but was just trying to play for his guys. And Bill knew it. Bill knew what was ahead. When he said Kevin's going to be back for the turn, he knew. But he was trying to be positive, but he couldn't overcome the depth issue. But I think it's interesting that you have a guy like Bill Self, a guy like John Calipari, two of the blue buds, two of the guys who literally they have to keep talent away. No, you can't come to here. We don't have a scholarship for you. But the transfer portal and NIL have made it more difficult for guys like that to get the depth. And that's another story that's not being told. Bill Self and Cal and these blue bloods, they're always going to get 5 or 6 guys where you go, we can win there. it's 6, 7, 8 is going to be very, very hard to recruit because 6, 7, 8 can be 1, 2, and 3 at another program, right? And that is going to be the challenge. How do you convince 6, 7, and 8? How do you convince the next Furphy? No, come here.
Yeah.
Come on, you be a part of this. As opposed to, no, dude, why don't you go to Illinois and be a starter there? Like that to me is the challenge that Bill Self he's talking about, and people didn't want to hear it because they wanted to listen to the part about I've been thinking about next year. But what one of the greatest coaches in college basketball, one of the greatest coaches of all time is saying is, listen, it's hard to get 8 guys on a team who are all good and capable of playing and leading you to a championship. It's never been harder than it is now, and I think that's what he was expressing.
Is it if you get into the cycle of transfer after transfer after transfer, can you get to a point of having that depth? I mean, Shaka Smart talked about in his press conference that, look, these guys, we built this team with recruiting freshmen, and if you want NIL, then don't think about Marquette. Kelvin Sampson, we built this team by recruiting high school kids, and it's 2 teams that may be playing each other this weekend, going up against each other. But we've also seen some teams that have been built with some transfers. The question being, like, if you're trying to have 6, 7, 8. Can you get 6, 7, 8 if you get into the cycle of, okay, well, now we've got to immediately come in and bring some transfers in. Okay, we bring some transfers in. Now our depth goes, well, screw that. You just recruited over me. So now I'm going somewhere else. And can you get out of that by then recruiting freshmen, but also if it means like you may take a step back in one particular year? Not that Kelvin Sampson had to do that. He went to a Final Four Elite Eight, went to the second weekend last year, and is a 1 seed this year, and one of the teams that can win the tournament. So he didn't actually do that. But I do just wonder if like you get into the cycle of, well, we're replenishing with transfer portal, we're replenishing with transfers. Where does the development come from? Unless you've got a Furphy or an El Marco Jackson, a McDowell, guys that want to stay around and be a part of it, and you can supplement with transfers because they won a national championship, Myron, after losing to USC with on the court against USC was Ochai, Christian Brown, McCormick, DeJuan Harris, and Jalen Wilson against USC. Those are the starters that won the national championship the very next year, adding in Remy Martin. That's all they did. They added in Remy Martin to that team. And so can you get to that if you're looking at it and going, well, I've got to replenish here. I got to replenish at this spot too.
I mean, I don't know any other way. I mean, freshmen will get you fired, right? I mean, that's just like the reality today. I mean, look at what Cal has done in Kentucky. No one's had more NBA-ready guys. And, his AD had to come out and say, we're keeping them for another year, which is never a good sign, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think coaches have to make a decision. And it's hard because fans are hypocritical. Fans want flashy. They want to be able to say, we got the next first-round pick, the next lottery pick. We got the dude who's going to be a great player at the next level, and he's also helping us win. They don't necessarily want the guy who's a fifth-year guy without a name brand, but is just a really good player. And, they don't necessarily want 4 of those guys. But that's what it takes, I think, today to win a national championship, because teams are going to try to get older and not younger. Because, and I've talked to Bill Self about this, you don't have time to develop young players anymore. So that freshman who comes in, you got a guy, Marco Jackson, right? Mm-hmm. That freshman who comes in has to be ready, right? And if they're not ready, there's just no place for them. There's no more of the let that guy learn, we'll bring him along slowly. If he's not ready to go, he's probably going to move on, right, in the next year. And you're going to have to go find somebody else. So I think with the transfer portal, man, this is almost like it's the Wright brothers, man, the first plane or something, because everybody's trying to figure it out. But I think how a lot of coaches are thinking is, let me just get older. And I like Shaka Smart. I'm known Shaka Smart for a long time. He can say don't come to Marquette if you want NIL because he's in the Sweet 16. Mm-hmm. He didn't say that at the start of the tournament when he was trying to get to the second weekend for the first time since VCU. You can talk with your chest out a little bit at this stage. Let me see what actually happens going forward, though. Mm-hmm. Because if you're trying to win, you're going to have to go to the portal. I don't care who you are. And if you go to the portal, there will be a demand, a financial demand to get the top talent. You ain't got to do it like that. You can stay the way you've always been. But I assure you it's going to be hard to sustain excellence if that's the attitude.
Yeah. The point about Elmarko Jackson, too, it's like, Elmarko Jackson, how disappointing his season was. Well, there were expectations on what he could be, but disappointing season compared to what a typical freshman would look like. I mean, He's a freshman playing at Kansas. So what's what's the relative term of disappointing for Elmarko Jackson? Because at the beginning of the season, we thought, Bill Self saying this guy's the best NBA talent we have on this team is Elmarko Jackson. And it just didn't work out this year. Okay, well, maybe next year he turns out to be, a star, and grows into that with Bill Self, gets a better idea of what Bill Self is wanting, what the expectations are. If DeJuan Harris returns and KJ Adams return, and then Elmarko and Furphy return, it's all of a sudden like, okay, well, now you've got that core again, but can you add into the depth that Bill Self was talking about? And for some of these blue bloods, I just wonder, can you stay old, stay talented, and stay connected? Can you do all three of those year in and year out? And it becomes, more and more difficult to be able to do that. Visiting with Myron Metcalf from ESPN, benefiting Jackson County CASA. You mentioned UK and, freshmen getting you fired. It did not get John Calipari fired. Mitch Barnhart came out last night and said that he has met with John Calipari, says, as they do at the end of every season. Well, I'll tell you this, Myron. Mitch Barnhart at the end of every season does not put out a statement in saying that John Calipari will return as head coach. So that ain't something that happens at the end of every season. What do you make of what's going on in Lexington where it seems like the romance is dead between the fans, alumni, and John Calipari?
I mean, it's been a divorce in the making, right? And, if somebody comes to you and says, honey, I'm going to give it one more shot, good luck, right? You're in a bad place. So I think that's their situation. When they lost to St. Peter's a couple years ago, I think that was maybe the first straw. Well, maybe the second, because remember, they go 9-16 after that, before that, right after the pandemic, which is the worst record in 100 years. You lose to St. Peter's after that. This year, day one of the SEC championship, you're out. Day one of the NCAA tournament, you're out. You lose to Oakland just because you can't stop a Division II guy from hitting 10 3-pointers. It's bad. And let's be honest. If Cal isn't owed $33 million in some way, he's gone, right? If this is a normal circumstance and the buyout isn't that, I think they would have moved on. I think the other element is who's your replacement?
Yeah.
And there's no obvious guy out there where you say, okay, let's go get somebody else. I think a lot of these schools have spoiled fan bases, and they don't understand how hard it is to be good for this long. Like, I don't care what Kansas does after Bill Self, whenever he decides to move on. People are going to look back and go, how on earth did you win for 20 years?
Yeah.
Especially as everything changed so rapidly. And I think Cal's a little bit in that situation where he was winning for so long, they've had to step back, but at the same time, you're Mitch Barnhart, you're like, who's the guy that replaces him and gives us the best chance to win? There's no easy answer. They're going to roll with him for another year.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. And it was obvious with John Calipari before. And then it was like, okay, if not John Calipari, well, what about Jay Wright if he were to leave, right? You just go call Jay Wright. Well, he's not returning anytime soon. So then who's the next, Scott Drew, seems to be happy down in Baylor. I don't know. Chris Beard, Ole Miss was the team that stepped up and took a lot of the egg to the face first. So maybe Chris Beard becomes a candidate if he keeps doing that at Ole Miss. I think Bruce Pearl would be awesome there at Kentucky, but they can't stand him. So are you able to mend those fences and heal that to bring in a Bruce Pearl? I think he would fit in perfectly with that fan base and his personality and Kentucky. It's just being at Tennessee and now being at Auburn, they no love lost between those guys. So I think I'm a little bit surprised that the buyout was the issue that would keep them from doing that, because Kentucky basketball is like the SEC football teams. I mean, that's we see SEC football teams do the buyout, and we're not really blinking an eye, maybe at $30 million, especially when there's an offset clause and there's no lump sum that's owed to them. So it'd be $6 million per year over the next 5 years they would owe Cal. But also, if he gets a job as a coach, somewhere, you're not paying him like $500,000, so you're probably paying him $3 million. And with that offset clause, are you willing to move on from Calipari for $3 million a year for the next 6 years? That sounds easier to do than $33 million. But then you have to have the guy in mind that you know you're going to go and land, that you're going to bring in, and this guy's going to say yes. Almost like a back-to-back days, right, Myron? We're moving on from John Calipari. Yeah. We're introducing Scott Drew as the head coach.
Yep. And the problem is the Scott Drews of the world are making a ton of money, and they're happy.
Yeah.
Like going out to a Kentucky is no more like this gigantic lifestyle change anymore. Those guys are making a ton of money where they're at. Yeah. That matters.
Yep. What do you think of the tournament remaining? Is it often you do the reseeding all the time? So is it often that the reseeding of the tournament we see all 4 number ones stay number ones, all 4 number twos stay number twos? Typically, we don't really see all 4 ones and twos in the Sweet 16, but is that sort of an indication of what the selection committee sort of did with their picks of UConn, Purdue, and Houston and Iowa State, or I guess Arizona and Iowa? No, it was Houston, Purdue, North Carolina, and UConn. Yeah, so it's all 4 number ones and number twos. Is that typical as you do the reseeding, or is there something different this year?
No, I mean we usually lose a couple of twos, maybe, or one. I mean it hasn't been like this, but I'm sure the committee's patting itself on the back that they've been able to do it, and it's been kind of a boring reseeding, but I can't eliminate Houston off of one rough finish.
Yeah, off a minute and a half.
When, the full body of work says, hey, you know what I mean? They're a legit 1 seed. The same way I can't suddenly make Clemson a 2 seed because they beat Baylor, even though their fans want that, So I think the best teams remain, and one of those teams are going to win a national championship, and probably one of the 1 seeds, and most likely UConn. So I think the committee probably feels like they hit it. We just don't have some of the drama that maybe we hope for.
Yeah. Do you have I'm trying to look back now because I know we had you on last week, so I need to find the pick. You had UConn, Bama, Kentucky, and Creighton. Who do you have instead of Kentucky now?
Yeah, what a terrible pick. What was that thing going to do?
I had Kentucky and Baylor, so worse than you.
I hate it. I just hate it, man. Yeah. I tried it some years I go against the grain, and I think that'll work. Other years I'm like, let me play it straight. It just never works for me, man.
Yep.
So I hate it. I mean, Houston, right?
Yeah.
I think, Houston, even though, again, I understand why people would doubt them after kind of what happened. Man, that's going to be the one.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see what ends up happening.
What happens with them.
Myron Metcalf from ESPN. Myron, you're the man. Appreciate it. Next time we talk, we will be discussing who is in the Final Four. Appreciate it as always, brother. Enjoy the basketball. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. There's Myron Metcalf. Great stuff from him. Always love the conversations with Myron and love having him on because different organizations around the Kansas City area benefit. And this year, Myron Metcalf benefiting Jackson County CASA. Court-appointed special advocates, community volunteers just like you. They stand up, speak out to help children who have experienced abuse or neglect. Jackson County CASA recruits, trains, and supports these CASA volunteers to advocate for the best interest of children who are in the Jackson County family court system until they have a safe and permanent home. It's Jackson County CASA, C-A-S-A, jacksoncounycasa-mo.org. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hang out with Mick Schaefer. We got teams and sound to eliminate in the bracket of sound, and we've got our Royals ZOUs, the zone over-unders, and I am immediately questioning myself both ways because back-to-back losses has me very, very nervous about this round of ZOUs. We do that next. All right, hanging out here on this Wednesday edition of the show. Opening day coming up tomorrow. (913-912-4810) is the text line. Let's get to some Royals ZOUs. Let's get to some Royals ZOUs. You know, Todd Lebo's walking around. You know what he loves? Todd Lebo loves Fogarty and center field. He absolutely loves that song.
You know who hates it?
Who?
Les Norman.
What?
He'll bring up that song unprovoked.
Todd actually hates it too.
Okay.
So I think we should play it. I think we should play it in the background while we're doing Royals ZOUs because Les is, I don't know if he's listening or not. Hi, Les, if he is. And Todd is walking
Call
around.
in, Les, because he tells great stories. It's like, it's the don't stop believing of every minor league ballpark from coast to coast.
Oh, man.
And he was in every minor league ballpark
you know
from
what?
coast to coast.
From that standpoint, I would understand why
Yeah.
he would hate
He's
that.
warming up in the outfield. and
Every
like, look at me, I can Les is turning off right now.
It does remind you of baseball, though. For him, it's probably,
It's about baseball. It should.
Is it?
Is it? It's going to be like one of those, Springsteen, Born in the USA, was actually anti-USA.
What?
Fogarty's Center Field was actually a song about football.
Center field is a safety. I'll play center field. I'll play the deep safety
That's
position.
actually free safety, man.
Yeah.
They're playing zone. Intercepting Mahomes. That's what it's about.
Born again. New grass on the field. They resod football fields all the time. Are you kidding me? Rounding third quarter and heading for home after the game's over.
After the game.
Brown-eyed handsome man. That's Patrick Mahomes. All right. All right, let's do some Royals ZOUs. You want to, Mick?
Yeah, you didn't send me out any prep work.
I forgot to do that, so my apologies. I've got all of them right in front of me. You and Dylan do not. Maybe I've been looking for some sort of an advantage. I don't know.
A way to not lose. You still owe us, I believe,
I know.
for
I owe
one
you
meal.
one
right?
meal.
Okay,
One meal.
yeah.
I owe one meal. Now I owe the Chiefs ZOUs.
You're gonna be.
I paid up the Royals one.
Here's what I'm thinking. You're so high on the Royals this year that you've upped the over under. Those are gonna be higher, and you're gonna still go over. So my strategy of just going under on all the Royals bets might work out.
I know, and I start to doubt myself. Like I was looking at these, and I'm like, oh, I will go here. No, I haven't even filled them in yet.
If you just
because
ask
I've gone
for
back
help
and
on
forth
any of these games and not be judge, jury, and executioner, then you might do better.
All right, we're going to cut this into two segments. We'll do the pitching side first. So we've got 10 different ZOU categories that we will look at, that we will pick for the Royals and the home opener tomorrow, coming up in 26 and a half hours. 26 and a half. Tomorrow. Sure. With the first pitch with Cole Reagans on the mound. We start with that. Cole Reagans. Wins on the season. We set it at 35 and a half. I'm going under. I'm going under with that.
One.
You know what? I'm so excited about this season. We set Cole Reagans wins at 1.5. I'm going over. No. 10.5. 10.5 wins for Cole Reagans this year. Getting to 10 wins in Major League Baseball, not the easiest. And the Royals. But a lot of excitement around Cole Reagans. Over under 10.5. And here I am, already starting off with an over. Pick for Cole Reagans, over 10.5 wins for the Royals. Mick.
He had 5 wins for the Royals last year.
Yeah, I do apologize not sending these to you.
12 starts.
I didn't do it on purpose.
I am tempted to go over, but I'm going to play the game. I'm going to go under. I'm going to cheer for a loss.
I'm already down 1 to Mick. There we go. Dylan, what say you? Over under 10.5 wins.
We were really high on Bubic last year. We were really high on Bubic.
What do you say?
I'll go under as well.
Under?
Just
Okay.
temper expectations. I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Reagans has hit his max on Tommy John surgeries, right?
You can only have 2.
God's like,
God's like,
two's your max. Let up after that.
The pitching gods, look, man, we made you left-handed. You are going to have a couple Tommy Johns, though. So that's, the give and take of this whole thing.
He said Tommy's Johns.
Tommy's Johns,
plural.
yes. Tommy Johns?
Yeah.
Tommy's John, yeah.
Tommy's
it's like the...
passers-by.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yep. It could be.
Could
be. No, I was thinking of something else. But Michael Wacha ERA 3.8. So I'll let you look at the Michael Wacha ERA. So Michael Wacha's
He
ERA
was 3.2 last year.
The last couple of years he's been sub 4. So last year he had a 3.2. The year before that he had a 3.32. 2021 he had a 5 ERA. So a 3.3.
And what are you setting at?
And a 3.2. We're setting it at 3.8.
3.96 is his career.
Yes.
I mean, 3.94 would still be fine, be good. But I'll maybe less innings now to make up for it. I'm going to go over.
Over 3.8?
Over 3.8.
Okay. Dylan, what say you?
I'm going to go over as well. Just
the Royals tax. You just have to apply to all these numbers.
I went over as well. I went over as well because last year I got burned with the pitching side of the over-under. Brady Seager's ERA, we set it at 3.
It was like 5.2 or something like that, wasn't it?
5.52. It was 5.5 last year. And I got burned last year. I ended up finishing last with only 5 points. You and Corey, or Josh, tied with
Same
6.
person,
Same person, yeah, absolutely.
Both levers.
Beards won with 9, and the reason you didn't finish last tied with me, Mick, is you were the only one that said there would not be a long-term deal in the middle of the season last year. We all said yes. You said no.
Won that by a few months.
Hey, it still counts. All right, so last year we did saves, but we did it with specifically Scott Barlow. Yeah. Since there is, it's expected to be Will Smith.
They haven't come out and said
no.
Closer, right?
So what we're going to do is, this is a little bit like, we'll do saves overall here in a second, but we're going to do a little bit like we did wide receivers this last year. Who leads the team in saves this year? What player do you look at for the Royals and say this person's going to lead the team in saves? I start off with this one, and I want to go Will Smith, but I'm kind of starting to go opposite theory here with the Royals, even though I should be, optimistic and things like that. I'm going to go James MacArthur. I'm going to go James MacArthur instead of Will Smith because I think Will Smith is the obvious answer, and I think the obvious answer has burned me a couple of times. Mick, what say you?
Well, I was going to say James MacArthur.
Well, then say it.
Look at his career saves.
He had 4 last year. He came on strong at the end of the year after Scott Barlow. He got rolling, ended up with 4 saves, finished 6 games. Numbers were better down the stretch than the overall numbers of 4.6.
I'll go with the obvious one. I'll go Will Smith, just to be different, maybe.
No, I appreciate you being different.
Yeah.
So that means Will Smith will lead this team in saves. So well done, Mick. Dylan, what say
I'll go
you?
Rasheed Rice again.
Sky Moore. I'm feeling Sky
Can
Moore.
I have a Hunter Renfrow bet for both a Chiefs and a Royals over-under?
Not right now, you can't.
Not yet.
Dylan, what say you?
I'll go with Will Smith as well.
Okay. Well, he's on my fantasy team, so I hope that ends up happening. So there we go. We had a text earlier. We were joking about, started the show talking about hot bats in Little League. The bats that are the hotter bats. And text said, hold on. Your son's Little League team's getting play, and I can't talk about my fantasy team? Great point, sir. Great point. Now, the question is bullpen total saves. Last year, they had 27. So just so you know, last year they had 27. We're setting it 35.5. So 27 total.
About half of their wins.
Half of their wins ended up being saves.
I wonder what is a typical percentage of
it's a great question.
Wins that are saves? I would guess it's more than half if you have a strong closer. 35?
35.5. That would be if the Royals get to
70 some wins, right?
And that's just half.
The same percentage.
And if it's more than half, and the Royals are maybe playing closer games, I don't know. But we do start with you, Mick.
I'll go over just because I think this offense is going to produce a 3/4 to a run more per game, which will result in more save opportunities, which should result in more saves. I'll go 35.
35.5.
I'll go over. I'll throw a little bone there, a little over.
Dylan, what say you?
27
over as well.
Low, right? That's really low.
Yeah.
I went under, so.
Oh, man. I am hating the Royals.
And I'm fighting myself on this. I'm like, well, no, I think Walker's going to have under a 3.8 ERA.
I don't think Dylan and I have ever had a different answer on any of these ZOUs.
Nope, you're both
spirits.
Yep, the same exact ones. Also, you guys, when picking the Chiefs games, also pick the same score.
All the ones we've ever done.
Yeah. You guys are losers. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll do the hitting. And if we run out of time with that, then we'll continue in the 1 o'clock hour as well.
Fielding.
So then we'll do defensive.
Managerial.
We'll do managerial, yes. How many wins above replacement manager.
Yeah.
How many Warm?
Warm.
How many worms? How many worms does Matt Quattro have?
Hopefully a lot today. I'm about to head to the ballpark.
We'll
It's
take a
not too
timeout,
cold.
come back, and continue with the ZOUs next. Over.
Under.
Over.
Under.
Over.
Under.
Over. All right,
And
there we
Dylan,
go.
Dylan has my answers too.
Dylan's just the exact same as Mick. We've got them all. There we go. Over 1 home run for Salvi. That's what we put it at, and you went under.
Dang it.
All right. Yay. Stolen bases for Bobby Witt. 1/2. I went over, you went under. So I feel good about this year. I am so confident that Bobby Witt's going to get 1 stolen
Just for the
base.
month of March, right? Is it what we're talking about?
I'll still take the over.
Yeah, me too.
How about the just for the day of Thursday? Just for the day of March 28th. Does he have a stolen base? We'll find out. No, we will do the ZOU offense on the other side. And we'll talk about some of the names we just mentioned. Also, we'll get our win totals. And we'll throw a special one in that we have not done in years past with the Royals because of a couple of players on the Royals that actually fall into a specific really cool category. We'll do that next. as it is Dylan's birthday today. So I want to make sure people know that it's Dylan's birthday. He's been walking around telling everybody. You walked in, he's like, hey, Mick, it's my birthday today.
He didn't say, hey, Mick, first. He said, it's my birthday. Hey, Mick. That's the order.
Yep. It's odd that he's been doing that all day.
29.
Yesterday, spent the entire show going, hey, you know what tomorrow is, guys? It's my birthday. It's not your birthday. That's what he was saying all day. He's like, it's my birthday. It's not your birthday.
Are you too young to be on Facebook, Dylan? Or are you on Facebook?
Or too old to be on Facebook?
I was going to say, I think I'm too old.
Wait, I'm on Facebook. No, at this point, the olds are on Facebook. My
I'm not on Facebook.
parents on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook.
Yeah, the young'uns aren't on Facebook anymore. They're not even on Twitter anymore or X. They're on Instagram, and that's probably going out of style.
Here's the thing: I have a Facebook account, so I can't say I'm not on it. I have a Facebook. I just never get on.
It's the most annoying day, your birthday. If you're on Facebook. Oh my god!
I hate my birthday.
Couple hundred
Happy birthday,
messages.
Mick.
Oh my god!
Oh god!
Have a good one.
I'm not going to now. You know, I was going to, but now you told me to.
I don't even do like everybody's like at the end of their birthday. They're like to thank everybody for. Give me a shout out. Really overwhelming. I don't do that because it is overwhelming and I hate it.
Dude, there was, last year it was like June 27th. My birthday is the 24th, so like June 27th. I'm like,
somebody else loves their birthday, huh?
Yeah, I was like, oh wait, I bet a lot of people put the happy birthday on, and I didn't do anything. So then I'm like, do I go and just click like on every single one?
No, nobody
cares. I didn't.
Nobody's thinking of you outside of that 1 second.
That's true. That's exactly right.
And
the only reason they know that is because they get a notification of here are your friends' birthdays today.
There's got to be some sort of button you click that you can just do an automatic thing.
It's an
on
algorithm.
All your friends'
it's an algorithm.
Birthdays. Happy birthday,
balloon
Jason.
Release. That's right. It's a cover letter and just like dear Colgate.
Yes.
I would love to attend Yale.
AI writes it.
Yeah, no chance. Did I accidentally send the Missouri Western one to you, Northwest? My bad. I just changed the name. It's no big deal. All right, let's get into the offense of the ZOUs. We start with Bobby Witt. He's a good player.
He is.
Yes or no? Over under on good player for Bobby Witt. That's our first one.
Yes.
Yes. I'm going to go no. I'm going pessimistic this year.
Even if he has a bad year, he's still a good player, so I'm going to win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Home runs, stolen bases combined. Last year, the man had 79 home runs and stolen bases. We put the over under at 70.5. Let's see. Me, Mick, Dylan, me. Mick starts on this one. Over under 70.5 for Bobby Witt. Stolen base.
I'm going over. I think he could very well drop in home runs, but I think he's going to run even more this year. It could be 60 stolen bases, maybe 25 home runs, something like that. That's going to more than make up for it. So I'm going to say over.
Dylan, Mick went over, so I write you down for over.
Yep. Keep the trend moving there.
I am going to, for whatever reason, go under. Like I'm going back and forth, and I'm starting to doubt myself, and I'm in a rut.
He's going to be a 9.
I'm in a rut.
9 worse in that category.
I'm in a rut. Okay,
that's what I hear.
I admit it. All right. I don't want to do that. I mean, 70.5 seems so low for Bobby, but he might have 70 stolen bases. I'm going over. All right, I'm doing it. I'm going over. Damn it, I'm going over. I'm getting back into my excitement.
I mean, it could be like 25 and 46, which would be big drops in both categories.
Yeah, well,
and
you've talked me into it, so thank you for making sure I don't lose a point there. I appreciate you. I'm getting back into my element.
When you said that, I was thinking 80.5 because he was 79 last year.
You want to go to 80.5?
No, I don't. I'm good with my over at 70.5.
Okay, very good. Salvi, extra base hits. We put it at 43.5. He had 44 and 42 the last 2 years of extra base hits. So that is home runs, doubles, and triples.
You're counting triples in there? I think he's got 5 in his career or something like that, doesn't he?
I don't think he's had any in the last couple of years. But 43.5. Dylan, we start with you. 43.5 for Salvi, which is right at what he's had the last 2 years.
I'm going to go under. Just going to go under on this one.
Under for you?
Yes.
Bleep it, I'm going over. I've now turned over a new leaf. I'm now back into now totally losing. Mick, what do you say? Under? With Dylan?
Under with
like,
Dylan.
This is you guys.
I'm not even trying to at this point.
So it's me versus you two. You guys are double teaming me. Pasquantino batting average. Batting average for Vinny P. So he was injured last year. We know that. And said he was injured while he was going through the season. His first time in the big leagues in 2022, he batted .295. Last year, it dropped down to .247 because he was injured. Batting average, we're going crazy here. .299. Do the Royals have a 300 hitter or not? I am going over with Vinny Pasquantino in batting average. Mick?
Under. I can't say it fast enough.
Dylan, under?
Under. Just write down whatever Mick
I feel like that was the easiest one for me, maybe.
We'll find out.
I mean, anymore, hitting 300, like I said in the break, is like your top 5 in the league.
He hit .295 in 2022.
Yeah.
Now he's 2 years older.
He is.
Now he's 26. That was still a 24-year-old.
But he's developing
26.
his power more, which means the average might
that
drop.
sucks. Why didn't you tell me that before I picked it? Okay, now I'm
I
going.
just stayed at
now I'm going
$2.99. I'm good.
All right, we're going to drop it to $2.50. What do you say now? All right, this one is a combined 2 players, Hunter Renfroe and Nelson Velazquez. Hunter Renfroe and Nelson Velazquez. We are going combined home runs for Renfroe and Velazquez, 44.5. Now, Renfroe has had low 20s last couple of years, or last year had like 23. Velazquez had 14 home runs in 40 games last year for the Royals. So does he continue that trend? Does he fall off? Spring training numbers. He was pretty brutal in spring training. Just think about that one. Mick, what say you? 44.5 combined between Renfroe and Nelson Velazquez home runs this year. What do you and Dylan think?
44.5 between the two.
Between the two. So if one of them has 45 and the other one has 0, it's still over.
No one can go negative.
I don't know. Chris Owens was negative. He had some negative numbers a few years ago.
I'm going to go under and count on Kauffman Stadium / an injury.
Kauffman injury.
It's a nice thing. Not because of the stadium, but the stadium's bigger.
Yeah.
Renfroe's numbers could go down, and everybody gets injured.
Dylan?
Just to throw everyone off, I'll go over.
Whoa, you son of a gun. Betraying me like that.
You two literally are going to watch Renfroe and Velazquez.
Turning my
the
around.
only difference between you two. Renfroe, Velazquez for the ZOUs.
Like,
all you guys have
first
to
or
watch.
second because of that.
I am.
Just kidding. You're still in the running.
I'm going to go under.
Until tomorrow.
I'm going to go under. Don't worry, Dylan. You've already got a sizable lead on me on that one. And then the one that we haven't done in the past because we haven't had players to do it in the past. Cole Ragans or Bobby Witt will finish in the top 5 of Cy Young or MVP. Either one of them. Now, last year, Bobby Witt finished 7th in MVP. And if you're looking at the betting odds this year, Cole Ragans is the 6th betting favorite for American League Cy Young. And Bobby Witt, oddly enough, 6th betting favorite for American League MVP.
And it's just those two guys. If
Either one
Vinny
of
P jumps up and gets 4th,
Just
it
those
doesn't
two.
count. Okay.
Just those two. Either one of them finishes in the top 5 of their respective award, MVP or Cy Young. I think we start off with Dylan on this one. Yeah, Dylan, we start with you. Yes or no for these guys?
Yes, I'm going to go Bobby Witt will be in the top 5.
Yep, you don't even have to name one. Just a yes or no. Mick?
Yes, I believe Bobby Witt will be in the top 5. We're back.
All right. I'm going no.
Whoa. I think that's probably the better chance. Right?
Yeah, but it's
There's
just
a lot of players.
It's just such the. again, I'm going opposite theory
You're
because
just trying to.
Last year got me.
Catch up before the game started.
Last year got me. I mean, 7 straight years, 7 straight ZOUs of not losing to the now back-to-back, and I'm doubting myself. Everything is just now doubting. All right, Royals wins 74.5 is what Vegas has the over. This was an easy one. It's what Vegas set it at. Yeah. So 74.5. We start with me. I am all of the little negative Nancy along the way. I'm going to go over. Bleep it because I do have them winning 77 games. But Mick?
So we recorded something for the morning show tomorrow because I do not show up for that morning show live.
You're on the Border Patrol tomorrow?
No, a TV morning show with Lindsay Shively. She's a huge hardball fan.
Part-time job.
Loves, yeah, that's my other job.
Yeah, your side gig.
What I moonlight as.
Yeah.
And I compared this season. It could be like the 2013 season, right, which springboarded in 14 and 15. They were above 500. I don't believe what I said. I think this might be more like the 2012 season, which is more like 72 wins, which would be a huge improvement from last year. Still, so I'm going to go under.
Under for you. I already wrote down under, by the way. Yeah. Dylan, what say you?
I'm going to go over.
Oh, yeah. So now you guys have to watch Renfroe and Velasquez home runs, and now the win total for them. So there we go. Those are the 10 categories.
Out on like September 1st. You're like, well, they're going to need to win every game the rest of the way.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 different questions that you two are the same and I'm different. So there you go. 6 different categories
out of 10.
Yeah. So you know what? That's how it should be. That's fun. That's how it should be anyway. All right, let's eliminate some pieces of sound here. Should we do Swifty or should we do Fat Bear? Let me look and see which ones might be the longer clips or the shorter clips. I don't know. Whichever ones we want. There's 16, 8, the 12. There's the 4. There's the 9 that's also out. There's the 13. There's the 11 and the 7. All right, we'll do Swifty era. In by Swifty era. Let's go with that one. There's some shorter clips in this one, it looks like. Well, unless this one is actually shorter.
I got to get to Kauffman Stadium.
Really?
Jason.
What if we just took the time deciding which ones to eliminate instead of actually playing the sound? Would you like that? Would you like that, Mick? Would you like us to do that?
No.
Decided. I've now switched my choice to Fat Bear.
I'll go over. Dylan?
All right, Dylan, Fat Bear, let's get into it because we already had a number of teams that played on Thursday that we eliminated on Friday. So let's get into it. The 5-12 matchup, the 12 seed ended up winning. Grand Canyon got the win over the 5 seed. The 5 seed St. Mary's is out, and so is this sound.
If you want to be a f***ing dick about it, you keep your helmet and your football and your f***ing kicking tee right where the quarterbacks are warming up.
That's St. Mary's is out, and good. It goes along with St. Mary's and the religious institution with Travis Kelce and his very clean mouth. That was the 5-12. The 4-13, Alabama knocked off Charleston, the 13 seed, out. So is this sound?
Now he's got to face Ellie De La Cruz, who appeared to be consciously pitched around at times in his major league debut. Doubled, walked twice yesterday. But in his later plate appearances, it would go from loud chants of Ellie to tennis match, golf tournament silence. Anticipation to see what... Oh, goodness! That ball had a family! In game 2, his first home run. A 2-run bomb. The hardest hit ball by a Red this year. That was nearly 115. It brought everyone to their feet.
Ellie De La Cruz, first home run. The ball had a family, and it still was crushed. The 6-11 matchup, Clemson knocked off New Mexico. New Mexico, the 11 seed, out. So was this sound?
Hey guys, breaking news! They just found the new book of the Bible, and it says the Chiefs need wide receiver help. I don't know what to do with that information.
Oh, the book of Juju.
The book of. That's pretty good, Jason. The Chiefs right now are struggling with Judaism.
New Mexico is out, and so is that piece of sound. The 14 seed, Baylor, Colgate. Baylor won. Colgate eliminated. The 14 seed is out, so is this sound.
Yeah, it was something. They're brothers, right?
Yes.
So
and cousins.
Brother cousins.
And one is the uncle of the other.
Utah. I mean, at least they found the right spot.
Andersons. Jeez.
That family tree is a circle.
It just doesn't branch.
It's a shrubbery.
Doesn't branch straight up.
It's family bush. Oh, no.
Hey.
No.
That can go. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. It can go. The number 9 seed, Michigan State, ended up losing to North Carolina, and the number 9 seed, Michigan State, is out, and so is this sound.
Looking forward towards Detroit. The weather has been a factor in some of the playoff games, even for the most prepared teams. Today it's 13 in Detroit, which doesn't compare to some of the temperatures we tend to drop to. Any special plans to acclimate the team to not only endure but perform in those kind of frigid temperatures should you face them in Detroit?
You do know we play indoors, right? They got a dome.
I got a dome.
I don't. No, nothing planned. We're indoors, and we only have to be outside for 20 seconds getting off the bus going under the thing, so we'll be okay.
She could have just said, what's it going to be like playing in the cold? Instead, she put so much effort into her elaborate question with facts behind it.
I wanted her to
non-factual question.
I wanted her to follow up and go, no, that's what I meant from the bus to the stadium. Do you guys have any
it.
extra? That's I know what I'm talking about, Coach. Duh, they got a dome. That's the 9 seed is out. The 12 seed, Grand Canyon, lost to Alabama. And Grand Canyon's out, so is this sound.
Name something you need to bring when you're camping.
Curtis has always told me that he likes to pitch a tent.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk later about how that's different, but you got it right.
So good by Adam.
12 seed Grand Canyon is out. The 3 seed Baylor, the Bears. They do not knock off the Clemson Tigers. Baylor, the Bears, and Fat Bear Week. They are eliminated in the second round. So is this sound?
As they say, Jason, he's got that dog in. But ever since I heard Nate Bukaty say the words 8-10 meat bundle, they were able to do it both ways. I mean, they were plowing open some holes.
Then you've got two guys with sticks trying to pound it out of you like American gladiators.
The ball is wet and sweaty.
And there was also two guys getting ready to plow him.
Let's deflate that football a little bit. See if we can't work on that groin a little. You guys, your ball work was amazing.
Matt Innuendo Derrick. That's what I've always called him.
Everybody calls him that.
Innuendo.
That's in her. That was also a bracket of sound one, I think, last year. Innuendo, and Corey, of course, in her endo. Because he's Corey. That's the 3 seed is out. The 7 seed, Dayton, the Flyers got grounded by Arizona. And the 7 seed, this piece of sound is out as well.
Interns ready with the Chewy toy and giving you a belly rub if you get too out of control.
Jeez, every guy loves a good belly rub. My little dog really loves a belly rub.
Thank you, Danny. Is he talking about an actual dog, or I'm not sure?
No, if it's code or literal.
I'm not sure. That's what the kids are calling it these days. There you go, Fat Bear Week, the updated teams that have been eliminated.
Are they all gone? Are we ready to go for the Sweet 16 or tomorrow?
Swifty era. There's one more bracket, one more region that we'll actually do on the other side of the break.
They're not till tomorrow night, right? All the games?
Yeah,
roughly?
the games are tomorrow night. Yep, but we're going to do that on the other side just to get them. I don't know, maybe do it. No, you know what? No. I'm going to do it on the other side.
I'm going to ride. We'll do it live.
Because no, you're going to leave.
Yeah,
you've got stuff to do. Mick has his side gig that he's leaving his full-time job here to go and work the side gig because there are a lot of press conferences coming up. We're going to hear from John Sherman coming up at 2 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810. And then later on in the 2 o'clock hour, the ace of the staff starting opening day, Cole Reagans will talk, Matt Quatrero will talk, and then over at Arrowhead will be Brooks Sherman and Mark Donovan, and the Royals and the Chiefs together will let everybody know what's in the actual lease that they'll be voting on in 6 days. For the next 40 years. So one vote and at least 6 days for 40 years or 25 years, depending on what the Chiefs. Thank you, Mick. You're the man. Appreciate it.
Shows.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll hang up and listen off the air. He is presented by Empower Payments, empowerpayments.com, boosting your business and charity with every transaction. We'll take a timeout, come back, and we will do the In My Swifty Era region, and we will eliminate those teams and sound coming up next. Thank you to Mick Schaefer joining us. He's presented by Empower Payments. Boosting your business and charity with every transaction. Why settle for the ordinary merchant services? You can give to charity with every transaction with Empower Payments. Visit empowerpayments.com. Mick on his way out to Kaufman as the press conference with John Sherman will take place at 2 o'clock. You'll hear that right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And then we'll hear the press conference at 3 o'clock with Brooks Sherman and Mark Donovan, Chiefs and Royals, together with a press conference as they will announce the signing of a lease, or letting people know finally what's in the lease. And we can figure out how the taxes will actually be distributed in the 3/8 cent tax, how it's going to be paid out, because there no longer is the Sacred Nations Clause, because these are two separate leases. And we are finding out what is in the lease some 6 days before it is time to vote. And whether or not anybody's mind will change, I highly doubt that anybody's mind will be changed with the announcing of the lease and what may be in it. But we'll be able to finally see in writing, at least you would hope, some of the things that have been promised, like the insurance that the team has agreed to give back to the county. The teams have agreed to do that. $2-3 million, roughly what that would be, that the county's not on the hook for, the park levies, those things that the teams have agreed to sweeten the pot. So we'll see. It'll be a 40-year lease for the Royals, a 25-year lease for the Chiefs, and that press conference will go on today at 3 o'clock. We'll have that for you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And then, of course, as happens the day before the opener to the season, we hear from the starting pitcher and the manager, and that'll be in the 2 o'clock hour at some point. Cole Reagans and Matt Quatraro will both talk, as Cole Reagans will head to the mound, an opportunity to go and start the season off on the right foot for the Royals. That, in a way that, typically Aprils are judged in a way that may not be fair and isn't looked at the same as some random games. And obviously this is March, but you get it, March and April. Not the same as, a middle of June or July, even though the games count the same. This Royals team, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they are judged early on in the season, depending on how they do. Because depending on your view of what you think the Royals can be and how they got to whatever record it is, you can make a realistic argument of it being positive either way. If they, have a rough record, you're like, they're playing a lot of good teams. Have a good record, they're playing some good teams, and look what they're doing. So they do have an opportunity to go out there and show that they're going to be competing throughout the season early on when you're facing off against a team that is the betting favorite to win the American League Central coming up tomorrow and then Saturday and Sunday. All right, let's get into the In My Swifty Era region and knock out some teams that have been knocked out in the NCAA tournament for the Bracket of Sound. In My Swifty Era, the 1 seed and the 16 seed faced off. They typically do. They did on a Friday, and the 16 seed ended up losing. That is Stetson lost to UConn, and the 16 seed is out, and so is this sound.
And that was where I had my first ever Puffy Taco.
Was it Stetson, apparently? That's what the selection committee thought. That took place at Stetson. Not sure if that's what he was talking about or not. But that team is out. The 8-9 matchup that took place on a Friday, the 8-9 matchup of Florida Atlantic and Northwestern. We know that Northwestern ended up winning, and Dusty May headed off to Michigan, the head coach of Florida Atlantic. But the 8 seed was out, and that is this sound.
What could you possibly complain about with Forrest Gump?
I have a rub. Oh, yeah, I'm out doing whatever I want. Now my life's going down the toilet. Yeah. So here I am, Forrest.
Yes. You should
slept with half the country and taken every drug known to man, and now you're dying. Hey, I'm back.
I think Jenny was being opportunistic.
Little Forrest told me that his name was Alex before I came along, but Jenny told him to say his name was Forrest.
Yeah.
He's been 7 different names. He was confused.
It's probably the most spot-on movie critique I've heard in a long time.
100%, man. It is so good. That was Florida Atlantic, and it has been eliminated. We move on to the 5-12 matchup. 5-12 matchup with the San Diego State Aztecs taking on UAB. The 5 seed won. The 12 seed is out. That is this sound.
They were Asian-inspired hot dogs. We had little...
what's that mean, an Asian-inspired hot dog?
They're real dogs. That's enough, Jake.
That's enough, Jake. Thank you, Todd. The 4 and 13, that was Auburn and Yale. We had a huge upset here, and the 4-13 matchup, Yale advanced, Auburn lost, and that means the Auburn Tigers, and this sound is out.
Let me get closer to Mick's nipples so I can look at this. Wow.
That's already a drop for next year.
Incredible.
It's all the sequential unlocking of body parts to maximize club head speed at the point of contact, and that involves your nipples.
You got to put your nipples where your mouth is.
It's Tom Watson. He's not going to take a divot off my nipple.
Mick's nipples are out. They are out. They have been eliminated, knocked off in the NCAA tournament, the 5-12 seed there. In the second round, in the In My Swifty era region, the number 1 seed, the UConn Huskies, took on Northwestern, the 9 seed. The 9 seed lost, and we lost this sound.
I played with this thing for like 5 minutes before I came on here.
Northwestern out. So was that sound. Sorry to the masses. It's gone. And moving on to the 13 seed Yale that took on the 5 seed San Diego State Aztecs. The 13 seed has lost, and the 13 seed Yale is out. So is the sound.
And another hustle double right over the bag at first. Now Hosey and Anderson square off. They're fighting. They're swinging. Down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson. And Tim Anderson was on the wrong side of that punch.
Tim Anderson knocked out on the field, and down goes Anderson in that matchup, and down went Yale in that matchup. We had Illinois taking on Duquesne, the 3 versus the 11. Illinois advanced, and Duquesne is out. The 11 seed is gone, and this sound attached with it also eliminated.
Hey, good afternoon, James.
Hey, Corey.
A follow-up to what you were just asked there about Drew. Is there a balance, though, between, hey, we need you to throw the ball deep no matter – just take a shot. Don't overthink it. Take a shot. We need to see it. We're going to call it. And we need you to get some confidence in doing this as opposed to even giving a young quarterback the chance to say, hey, just check it down if it's not there.
I don't really understand what you're saying because we would never. Like my skin is curling when you say just drop back and chuck it deep no matter what. Like that is like I don't even know what you're saying. It's like you're speaking like from
just
Mars.
Just send the guy on a post pattern, take the shot, throw it.
No matter what.
Give your receiver a chance to make a play on a ball. Even if he might be covered 30 yards down the field, maybe you think he'll be open 45 yards down the field, and like Godwin did, or with Jahan or KJ.
I still don't like. You're speaking Japanese. We have never done that. Just throw the ball up, and maybe he'll be open, and maybe he'll catch. Like my skin is you're making me uncomfortable. Like I don't know what you're talking about. So okay. we would not do that. We would never do that. We've never thought about doing that as a head coach, as an offensive coordinator, as a receivers coach. I coached the receivers. I didn't want them to do that. So no, strong no, no.
Oh, I mean, just
damn shame. That's maybe my favorite just interaction.
Oh God, I mean the follow-up of just like the cliches, a post pattern, just chuck it deep, give your receiver a chance.
At what point do you abort and just say, I'm done. I'm not. You know what? Actually, never mind, James. I apologize.
If James Franklin was then answering after the follow-up, and then he almost tried to interject a little bit more. Okay, and James Franklin was like, no, like you're speaking Japanese. Like we would never do that as a wide receivers coach. Don't do that. Just chuck it deep. Just give him a chance, okay? I know you can check it down here, but just throw it deep, okay? Don't worry about it, just to give the kid some confidence.
Right. If he's not open at 35, just throw it to the 45-yard
marker. Yeah, maybe he's open 45 yards down the field. Yeah, everybody that you would always want to throw those, because if somebody's not open at 35 and they're going to be open at 45, you definitely wouldn't throw that ball.
See, even he's leaving.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Unfortunately, Duquesne lost, and that sound is out as well. Iowa State took on Washington State, the 7 seed Washington State. They did win their first game, but they lost their second game, and this sound is gone too.
Right now, what are the emotions like going through your head personally?
It's
Garrett Bowles.
Tired of losing, man. I've been here for 7 years, and all I've done is lost. All I've done is lost.
No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Tired of losing, man.
And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is
lost.
And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them say that.
All I've done is lost.
That's not what Washington State did. They got into the tournament. They won their first game against. That would have been perfect if Washington State had lost that first game. That would have been great, but they found a way to win. Way to go, Drake. Both the great man and also the team as well. But there you go. Out of the tournament is Washington State and Garrett Bowles, and all they do is lose. We got some weird sounds sometimes, man. We heard Garrett Bowles do that. We made it into DJ Khaled. All right, we will take a timeout. We'll come back. We will continue rolling. We'll wrap up the show. We'll be ending a little bit early today because we want to get to the program before the 2 o'clock press conference starts with John Sherman out at Kauffman Stadium, getting ready for the season, but also 6 days away from the vote to extend the 3/8 cent sales tax and have a 40-year lease and a new downtown ballpark for the Royals, and the Chiefs are a part of it too. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. Birthday boy turning 29 today. One more segment of radio on your birthday, Dylan, huh? Come on.
Couldn't come soon enough.
He is
But thank you. In all seriousness, thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday, bud.
Thank
He is such a diva for the spotlight, is Dylan. Just wants everybody looking. No, that's the exact opposite.
Me.
He loves three people in this world, me, myself, and I. That's what he says all the time, you know. So happy birthday, Dylan. He does a great job here. So
thank you, sir.
We've got the NCAA tournament picking back up tomorrow night right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB and also ESPN Kansas City. It's all presented by Xfinity, Greenlight Dispensary, Hollywood Casino, and Trailside RV. Tonight, we've got the Stadium Town Hall with Todd Lebo starting at 6 o'clock. When the program is over at 6, Todd Lebo will take over, and he will have interviews with people on both sides of the issue, the yes vote, the no vote, the here's the information, interview and discussion and things like that, and maybe not leaning one side or another. That comes up at 6 o'clock tonight. And then Bethany Bowman's got her show after that is done. And then we got a little NBA basketball, the Suns and Nuggets tonight at 9 o'clock. I do want to play this sound. We played it at the beginning of the show. And it's Dean Blandino talking about the adjustment to the kickoff rules. This is clip number 2 in there because, you know, there's a name that we brought up earlier in the show when we were talking about the Chiefs having, you know, some more money to spend. They still have to fill out their roster, and we're looking at, you know, whether that's defensive line and Mike Dana or other players or other positions, or it's wide receiver. Is there a veteran wide receiver out there that you might be interested in going out and acquiring and signing? Here's Dean Blandino weighing in on what the adjustment to the kickoff rule will mean in the NFL this year.
It will increase the number of returns because there are other parts of this rule that really decentivize the kicking team from just kicking it through the end zone. Because if you just kick it through the end zone, you're going to give your opponent really good field position. Whereas if you hit it, you have to make the 20-yard line on the fly. And if you hit it in the field of play and it's bouncing toward the end zone, if the returner just lets it go into the end zone, your touchback spot is going to be further back. So really, the goal is to kick the ball between the 20 and the goal line and then cover the kick. You know, what remains to be seen is we saw this in the XFL. We didn't see the explosive returns. We saw certainly more returns, but we didn't have as many explosive returns that we thought we might have. So I think that was one of the approaches that the league took to kind of make some changes, give the return team a little more flexibility, which will help in the return game.
You know, people are talking about who does this benefit? Does it benefit the Chiefs? Is it bad for the Chiefs, good for the Chiefs? I think what it benefits is, you know, the teams that have the better rosters and the better depth on the roster, 1 through 53. And the Chiefs and Brett Veach, they've been really good at going out and identifying guys at the end of their roster. And also, you know, it takes some health and it takes some luck. We talked about it when the Chiefs played the Bills on the road in the divisional round, that they're facing off against a team that was decimated by injuries on the defensive side, but it also meant that guys who were special teamers were playing a lot of regular reps on defense, and therefore somebody had to step in at the special team spot. So if you can remain healthy throughout the season, then yes, you are deeper and you have more guys that are good at special teams. Because you're going to have to go down and cover, you're going to have to return. You got this being a big part of the game. Now it's going to be an exciting play. We talked about with that, you know, coming into the conversation, mainstream conversation about this new kickoff rule. The Chiefs have a little bit of money. Are they going to go out and sign another veteran receiver? I think they'll draft a receiver. So right now you can look at their receiving room as Hollywood, Rashee Rice, a draft pick, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. I want the Chiefs to go out there and go get Jamal Agnew. It's a guy that I've got my eye on. The kickoffs are now a big part of the game. Go and get the best returner available right now. Cordarrelle Patterson signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jamal Agnew is younger. He's 28 years old. And in the last couple of years, he's got the 4th highest average kickoff return. He can play some wide receiver. Over 16 yards per reception last year. He can do some of the gadget plays. If you're going to go out and add somebody, why not add to a part of the NFL that is now going to be utilized even more? Maybe Jamal Agnew's in the mix.